The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hardwig is making his way over here. He's tardy right now. That's okay. He's a little tardy today, but that's all right. He's getting himself set up.
Chris
How are you,
Collins
sir?
were sliding right there.
Oh, well, there you go. I thought it was going to be the Baker slide in when
No.
Hollywood Higgins scored the touchdown and he turned around and did the camera walk photography whenever Hollywood scores. That
Please,
might be
I'm the one getting the picture taken.
that might be one of the coolest
You're taking my
celebrations. So you're on.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be one of the coolest celebrations
Yeah,
that I've
you know,
seen,
it's
or
funny.
original at least.
It's funny. You know, when the NFL first came out and said you pretty much can do whatever you want, just don't do anything obscene or whatever.
Yeah.
People got really creative with them. This year, I haven't seen a lot of like super creative, those like scripted touchdown dances in it. So, kind of missing them. I like the sack race. I remember that one. I remember
Sack race was good. Yeah.
I remember when they did like Tyreek Hill like a pit crew. When he scored a touchdown, they were like doing his wheels. and
Oh
then
yeah,
go.
yeah.
You know, so that
Yeah,
was
that one's pretty good.
So-
One of the Bills linemen
Hide and
rocked
seek.
Beasley to sleep.
hide and seek with the Steelers.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was always fun.
Duck Duck Goose.
Duck-
Earlier in the year, someone
Right.
did Duck Duck Goose, which was pretty hilarious. Yeah, we saw plenty of interesting high school basketball,
Ron,
both boys and
I
girls
think,
this weekend.
I think it's safe to say we had maybe the best basketball game of the year over the weekend at South Range. And we'll talk about that more in depth after we go over the scores of everybody. But Hoban and South Range going into overtime, 92-83.
Yeah, I thought it was a misprint when I first saw this.
It was incredible. So
Yeah.
we'll run down the scores and then we'll talk about some of the games. But
No
that's one of
doubt.
the ones that we'll definitely hit.
Yeah, no doubt. And plus, we're going to get into all kinds of other stuff. The Steelers can win their division tonight with a victory over the Bengals, and that would certainly be a great thing for the Steelers. They're already in the playoffs, but they'd win the division and close everything out from that perspective. They still have to keep winning to keep the number 2 seed.
They need to right the ship a little bit because they've lost
absolutely.
2 in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Browns are one step closer to getting into the playoffs, and I'll say it. They're now legit. They've cleared, as far as I'm concerned, they cleared the final hurdle, which was you had that horrible loss on Monday night against the Ravens. And
Heartbreaker.
and the normal thing that you saw through the previous years with the Browns was you have that loss and you revert back to same old Browns where you go and get a losing streak based on that loss. They look damn impressive. Now, granted, the Giants are playing for a playoff berth in that god-awful NFC East, so they had something to play for. Browns looked damn good last night. They really did.
And you're right. They're probably in the playoffs now. They haven't clinched it yet. They haven't clinched a playoff spot, but it'd have to be Titanic level sinkage for them to not make the playoffs.
Well,
at
I
this
mean, now
point.
considering the Jets have already done the Jets and won their game that they probably
But now they
shouldn't
have nothing
won.
to lose, so they can just their organization is like, yeah, go ahead, win if you want, because
Yeah.
we're not getting Trevor anymore.
You're not getting Trevor Lawrence now.
So
Not that Trevor Lawrence. Here's the beautiful part of all of this.
if I was Trevor, I'm really happy right now because I'd rather be losing in Jacksonville than losing up in New York.
But Trevor Lawrence doesn't have to leave Clemson.
That's true.
He can come back next year and play for the Tigers.
He's leaving.
Yeah, of course he is. But I'm saying that he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to.
That's true.
And I wonder if the Jets had gone winless, if Trevor Lawrence would have said, I'm going to stay in Clemson for my senior year.
He'd still go because he doesn't have to. He could pull Eli Manning or was it
Elway.
He could say I'm not going to go to the Jets and still get drafted. I mean,
I guess. We'll get into the college football stuff too. That's later in the show. Because
no chaos.
yeah, listen, I'm fine with the Final Four.
I know.
I
just wish there was speed chaos. I like chaos.
Now, ultimately, and I've said this, and I'll say it again. Ultimately, now that the disrespect is so freaking clear with Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Lafayette, now that disrespect is crystal clear, I would sit back if I'm a mid-major and say, you know what, you guys go about your business and do an 18 playoff, and we'll play our own playoff and include the FCS kids in this, and we'll have our own playoff.
What spot did Cincinnati finish? What was the number?
I think 6. No, actually, not 6. They were below Oklahoma. I think they finished 7th or 8th.
Okay, that's still. I wouldn't call it "quote unquote" disrespect. I know you went undefeated. You won your conference. Props to you. You're one of the better. You're actually the best mid-major team. But when you look at the history of the college football, we can't compare it to college basketball. Anybody can't beat anybody on any given day in college football. There's just not the parity's not there. We all know it's probably going to be Clemson, Alabama in the championship game. And if it's not, I would be very, very shocked.
Yeah.
Because it's always, in college football, it's always 4 teams and then everybody else.
Well, this year it's
and
3
this year
teams.
it's like 3 teams.
And honestly, I don't even think it's
really
3
2.
teams. It's
It's
2
really
teams.
2.
And then you have one team that's only played 6 games, one team that shit the bed once again in a big game. That has the ability to play but doesn't, and then you have the rest of the other teams that just whatever.
And I get, but Cincinnati, what Cincinnati has to do. This is the year. It's respectful for a Cincinnati team that came out of nowhere to all of a sudden get the 17th. So next year, I don't know how much they're losing.
Yeah.
Seniors wise.
Yeah.
If they go undefeated next year, then they can say, "Hey, we've already been here. We've gotten the respect last year. Now they can say, let us in." If they do it,
they're never going to let them in.
I think they will. I think if UCF wouldn't have lost that year after they went undefeated to who'd they lose? They lost to someone they shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah.
And then they had a 1-loss team. I think if they went undefeated the next year again, they would have been in the college football playoffs because it was kind of embarrassing for them not to be that year because they beat Auburn, who beat Alabama and Georgia in that same year. So the college football committee was sitting there with no real answer why UCF didn't get in. So if the next year they went undefeated, I think they would have had their hands would have been tied. So if Cincinnati takes care of, I don't know what bowl game they're going to get in or who
they're playing Georgia.
So if they take care of business and they say we're going to beat Georgia, like UCF did in 2017, they beat Auburn. If they do that, and then next year they take care of business like they should, because no matter what, they're still clearly the best team in the American Football Conference. They definitely, I think that they'll probably get in if no one else goes undefeated.
I don't think a mid-major is ever getting into the postseason.
I disagree.
And honestly, if I'm a mid-major, I'll say it again.
It's
if I'm
harder.
a mid-major, I tell the Power 5, do your own stuff. We're going to do our own.
The road is rockier, but there's a door open. If you beat Georgia and then go undefeated next year, like UCF should have done, then you'll get in. I think UCF would have been in I think it's 18. After they beat Auburn, if they would have went undefeated that next season, but they didn't. They lost the game they shouldn't have lost. It was their 1 loss on the year. But if they would have went undefeated that year, then they would have been in the college football playoffs because the committee's hands would have been tied. They would have had no answer to why a team that beat Auburn the year before, proved they can beat a team that beat Alabama, beat Georgia, why they weren't in the football playoff the next year.
Here's
So-
the epitome of disrespect for
But
the
if Cincinnati
mid-majors.
gets blown out, then the committee's going to be like, see,
Yeah.
we told you.
Yeah. The epitome of disrespect by the mid-majors is the fact that Iowa State got run by Oklahoma, finished with 3 losses.
Didn't they lose by like 3?
And, well, they were pretty much out of the game for most of the game. They did a nice little rally, but they fell short. They have 3 losses. They're number 10. One of the teams that beat them and thoroughly beat them
Week 1.
has 1 loss, and they're 9 slots below Iowa State. I call bull crap. I'm sorry, it's bull crap. So if I were a mid-major, I'd sit back and go, you know what? Let the Power 5 do a top 8. Have your 5 or your 4, what was it? 5 divisional winners and your 3 wild cards, and you guys can have the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and have that determine the national championship. And we'll take the FCS. We'll have the mid-majors and the FCS, and we'll all have a party and have a 24-team playoff, and let's have fun.
But then you're going to have 2 NCAA football championships.
Well, they'll take care of the other bowl games. The other bowl games can constitute these playoff games. If I'm Cincinnati right now, I'm pissed. Not because you didn't finish in the top 4. You couldn't even finish above A&M or Oklahoma.
Well, you don't deserve A&M. Maybe Oklahoma, but you don't deserve to go ahead of A&M.
Yeah, well, A&M was 5. Yeah.
Not the way they finished the season. I thought they were a legit. I was like, man, Ohio State did not look that good, and A&M blew out Tennessee like they should have. I was sitting there thinking, like, Sunday, I said, that's the only thing. I knew they weren't going to not put Ohio State in. They weren't. But
No, when Ohio State won, they were.
I was like, dang, does A&M have a gripe? Because I watched that game. It was the first time I watched Texas A&M play. The way they're playing now is just, they're playing really well. I think they're one of the better teams in the country right now as far as looking at them on tape.
Yeah, and I think the reason why
They're a lot different team than they got but blowouts hurt.
Yeah,
So,
and I think the reason why A&M didn't get in, Notre Dame did get in. A&M lost to Alabama by more points than Notre Dame lost to Clemson.
Blowout
If Notre
shirt.
Dame had been beaten by 29 or more, I think the argument would have been made, hey, A&M gets into this tournament. What also hurt was, and say what you will, backups and whatever, Notre Dame did beat Clemson earlier in the year. Had they not, I don't think Notre Dame gets in.
I think if Florida would have beat Alabama, that would have made the Florida win look a little bit better, and they might have gotten in over Notre Dame because Florida only lost by 3.
Honestly, I think
So if Florida finishes that game and beats Alabama, Alabama's still in. Florida's not going to get in.
No.
But I think A&M might jump Notre Dame because that Florida win looks a lot better.
Let me ask you, though, because I thought about this when Florida was going back and forth with Alabama. Had Florida beaten Alabama, could there be a case where you sit back and say, A&M played 10 games, Notre Dame played 11 games, Ohio State only played 6 games, and they played in a terrible conference this year. Yeah, we're going to put A&M 3, and we're going to put Notre Dame 4. I'm just saying.
I just want something like the knock against college football is how modulant it is because it's like, hey, guess what? It's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and every year maybe a random 4th team, but it's usually going to be either Oklahoma, Notre Dame, or one Pac-12 team in the last 7 years. So
okay, I
it's
promise.
so like. Okay,
I promise we're going to get into high school basketball because we should, but this has to be said. I don't know if you saw this or not. This broke about an hour before we went on the air. The coaches' poll came out, and Dabo Swinney's vote came out. Care to guess where he put Ohio State?
I'm gonna say like 8,
No,
9.
no.
Am I low or high?
You're low.
So he put him higher than.
No. He put him lower.
Oh, he put him like 13,
A little higher.
12.
11th.
Oh.
He put him at 11th. Now, look, I'm not saying this because
playing each other.
because he said some stupid
That's
things
locker room
after the
talk,
game.
man.
I'm not saying this because he said some stupid stuff after the game. I'm saying this because he is a very changed individual over the last 4 years. Dabo Swinney's become the biggest asshole in college football, over the last 4 years.
I agree.
I mean, 4 years ago when they
Like-
played Notre Dame in the driving rainstorm and they barely won and he had the bring your own guts, the BYOG comment, I was like, okay, this guy's cool. This guy's a lot of fun. Now he's become an entitled, spoiled asshole. He has. I'm sorry. I don't normally root for Ohio State. I hope Ohio State beats the living hell out of Clemson in the semifinals because I'm just not. I don't know what has happened to him if success has gone to his head, but he's become the biggest jerk off in the history of recent history of college football. Screw him. I hope Ohio State runs the field with those guys, and that's coming from someone that doesn't normally root for Ohio State. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but Dabo do.
Oh, my God.
We got a phone
Horrible.
call.
All right, 330-886-0813. Let's go to the phone lines. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on, brother?
Good afternoon, young men. How are you?
I'm good, young man. How about yourself?
Well, no Anthony today?
He's
Okay,
here.
I'm right here.
Young men was good.
All right.
All is good, man. Physical came out good. How about you today? Did you get there?
I got there. We're good.
We're all good.
We're all good.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, some conversation on the Browns yesterday. You know, with the depth added to both lines, sorry it's not in the defensive backfield, but both lines, man, we had some young guys stepping up yesterday. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool. Now, I would say this: if you're the Browns, and clearly they're now officially legit, or at least they'll be a playoff team. If I'm the Browns, I'm probably sitting down Myles Garrett next week to get himself a little bit stronger because it's. I don't know if people realize just how bad his bout with COVID really was. I mean, not hospital ventilator bad, but he had a really bad case of COVID, and I don't think he's been the same since. And if you give him a week off and let him recharge the batteries, get him ready for Steelers week, I think that would probably be the wise thing for the Browns.
You know, attending that wellness physical I had today, the doctor I have is awesome, all right? He's younger than us, but this guy is straightforward and great personality, Italian, of course.
Yeah.
And, of course. And anyway, I said, Dr. Dom, how serious is this? He goes, we go home crying every day.
It's crazy how serious this stuff really is. It's nuts.
Yeah, you know what? And I blew it off at first, but you know, when you get into like the influenzas and stuff like that, it's seasonal. This stuff doesn't have a favorite season. It's all year long.
No, it is, and hopefully that vaccine can't come fast enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
And
you know,
thank
we already
God-
got short. We already got short of 50,000 doses in Youngstown,
Well,
and they're talking about, well, you got to have the same. You have to have a dose within a certain amount of time, the second dose, and it's got to be the same one. I don't know if I trust it, Ron, but enough of that.
yeah,
What about the performance by our quarterback yesterday?
he was fantastic. Mayfield played a great game last night.
You know,
he was fantastic.
He overthrew a couple, but you know, the guy has a rock. Tell you what, this guy has a cannon for an arm.
He's got a good arm. I know, no two ways about it. And if you give him a pocket like any other NFL quarterback, a strong quarterback, they'll tear you apart. And Baker played a great game last night. There's no two ways about it.
And you know, this gal that came on to the new coach that came on to coach the tight ends, she's doing a bang up job, man. These guys were on the money yesterday.
No, there's cohesion right there, and that's one of the reasons why the Browns are having such a great year. There's finally some cohesion with the coaching staff, and everyone is just everyone's on the same page, and this team is getting stronger and stronger. And you know, okay, the Monday night loss is it's a loss, but the improvement that this team has had since week one is ridiculous, and there's no two ways about it. Barring a complete disaster, and I don't see them losing to the Jets, this will be an 11-win team at the very least, maybe a 12-win team. I don't think they win the division because I think the Steelers win tonight and they'll win the division. But I think the Browns are probably going to be the 5 seed, and they'll play Tennessee or Indianapolis in the first round of the playoffs.
By the way, congratulations on the Bills.
Well, it's been a long time coming. 25 years of, much like the Browns, 26 years since the last time they were, 10-3 right now, 9-4, 10-3, or 10-4. I'm sorry. It's been a while. So, I mean, the fact that both teams are winning, both teams are having a great time. It's just unfortunate that the fans aren't allowed to go to the stadium to see any of this.
Oh my God!
It is what it is.
It's boring, Seeing no interaction with the fans. All you hear is piped-in noise.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't know. These guys are so used to playing in front of a major venue, and all of a sudden there's cardboard dummies in a crowd.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't know if you've noticed this, and Anthony, let me bring you in on this one. I think the game is called differently because the referees can now hear some of the stuff going on with the players, some of the things that you would normally not hear with a crowd of 60+ thousand, and the game is called a little differently because of that.
You mean like it's officiated differently?
Yeah, it's
or
officiated a little bit differently.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you still get the defensive pass interference calls, and then you still get the holds. But I think yeah, it's a little bit different. A little bit, not too much, but a little bit.
Okay, now consider this, Ron. They have the hearing dishes, where you could take the cone with the microphone and focus it in on somebody. When you have a crowd of 60,000 plus, that might still work. But when you have no crowd, that really changes the play calling.
No question.
No, I mean really, 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 and it's an oversight by most fans. But the game has changed, and hats off to Stefanski and his crew. I mean, for dealing with that, because they're going on silent counts. Things are changed, and it's interesting. I don't like it, but it's interesting.
Well, I mean, look, it's better than no football, and at the end of the day, you know what? This is. It's been a great year, nonetheless, for both franchises, Buffalo and Cleveland, and it's been a great year for football in general. I mean, when you think about it, in June or July, Anthony and I were talking about the very real possibility of not having any football. Hats off, just not just on the pro level. Hats off to the high school level for getting all of this done. My God,
we all knew there was going to be an NFL season because the first thing NFL said was they were the ones that were really handling this kind of cavalierly, and I remember wondering if they were being a little bit too cavalier, but they gotten through a season. It was every professional season has gone the exact same way like baseball. They've had one little moment of the season where there have been some hiccups with COVID, and then everyone gets on the same page. It seems like every sports season kind of did that. Like the NBA had the one little, maybe a week or 2 weeks where people were getting tested positive, and then everything went fine. Football had that one little stretch where it was like the Titans, the Ravens, and the Steelers and all that. They were affected by COVID, but now everything's fine. It was just the ability to just keep trucking forward and play. I mean, the NFL hasn't canceled a single game. They've postponed a couple.
They've postponed a handful.
No games have been canceled. So play at all costs, and they've been trucking along, and I think it's better than no football.
Now, here's the thing, and earlier, about 3 weeks ago, we were hearing whispers of a bubble. You haven't heard anything about a bubble in the last couple of weeks, leading me to believe that it's going to be business as usual, which means that 2 seed in the AFC, even though you're probably not going to have any fans, that 2 seed is still pretty important because you get a second home game, assuming you take care of business in round number 1, and not just in the AFC, in the NFC as well. I mean, both conferences, you have a clear number 1 in the AFC. Even though they're not playing very well, and we'll get into that. But they're winning, but they haven't played very well. You know that. But you don't have to clear anything in the NFC, so it's going to be a free for all.
How about the Rams losing to the Jets? Oh.
Yeah,
Honestly, Ron, it's not as clear as the AFC, but the Saints last night, without Michael Thomas, without a lot of receivers, which they'll get back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because they're only sitting those guys so they're ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand
the Saints, I think that they're like here, and the NFC is like here.
Well, you better hope and pray you get the number one,
the
because
Saints' playoff history
Yeah.
makes me a little bit
Yeah.
worried because they always seem to lose in
in
heartbreaking
a
fashion.
cold weather climate, they don't play well.
But
Yeah,
they're still the 1 seed, right?
and
And the loss to Kansas City is not going to change that.
Isn't Green Bay the 1 seed?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
don't-
And it's a monster size
I
difference. I mean, if Green Bay is the 1 seed, forget about anyone else. I mean, Lambeau will be a great home field advantage for the Packers. And not that I trust that team. They're not a complete team. It's the AFC is so much better than the NFC. It's ridiculous.
Which
Yeah,
is,
things have turned around.
the Packers are the 1 seed at 11-3. Saints are 10-4. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
If New Orleans has home field advantage, I'll take the Saints because they're fun to beat and they're fun to watch in the Superdome. And
Man, I'll tell you what, that number
I
41.
like the Saints defense more than the Packers.
I agree with that.
That number 41 for the Saints is killer. This guy has combined yards of rushing and receiving that are off the chart.
Kamara.
I don't know his name. All I know is this guy is one hell of an athlete.
Yeah,
Alvin
Kamara.
Kamara, yeah.
Kamara is unbelievable.
Pretty cool. Hey, Anthony, just on a final note, your sensei, Ron Podesta there, called the Browns making their splash in 2020. That was in 2018.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I
that was
did.
that's when you were
Well,
down the radio dial.
They haven't splashed yet. Okay, they're not.
Well, yeah.
They
Well,
might
I
be a
said
playoff
I
team,
said
but-
potential playoff team.
So-
if double-digit wins, if everything played right.
I mean, geez,
Look, no matter what happens
Geez.
from here on out, this is a splash, Anthony.
standards. You don't lower standards just because the franchise. I mean, you made the playoffs. Great, that's great. But I mean, if that's your expectation, then you
Well,
should.
I mean, this is a far cry from. I mean, this is the last time this happened. Was
I know. I get it.
17
I
years
get what you
ago.
guys are saying. It's definitely a splash in the scope of Cleveland, football franchise.
Well, based on where they've been.
But a splash in the like national NFL scope of things, it's not a splash yet.
All right.
Yet.
All right.
Now, if they win a playoff game or something, then we'll splash. But if they brown, which they've been accustomed to.
Listen, I don't think they're going to be browning anytime soon.
Well, if they beat the Jets and then lose to the Steelers and they get swept by the Ravens and the Steelers and then go into the playoffs, do you really have confidence that they're going to win a playoff
It
game?
depends on who they play. The Browns have a great matchup against anyone not named for right now, not named, and I have to go by divisional winners: Kansas City,
Pittsburgh.
Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. Right
So
now,
that's three of your division winners.
But if they're number 5, they're going to be playing the last divisional winner, who happens to be Tennessee or Indianapolis, and they beat both of them.
It's really hard to beat someone twice.
That's true, and I guess we'll find out if Pittsburgh can do that the last Sunday of the season when they play Cleveland. Now Baltimore did, but Baltimore's not even in the playoffs right now.
No.
I mean, Miami is still
Which makes
there.
that loss last week. I mean, you lost to a non-playoff team.
Yeah, this is.
I'm not trying to rain on the Browns' parade. I'm just saying, let's slow the roll a little bit here. They're improving. They're not legit yet. Let's
I think they are.
pump the brakes. I mean, they're much improved.
Legit in terms of they're going to go to the playoffs, and legit in terms of they're not the Cleveland Browns of the last 17 years, 16 years. They're improved enough to where a horrible loss didn't turn this season sideways to where everything would have gone to hell in a handbasket.
Amen to that.
I actually anticipated them getting their ass kicked by Freddie Kitchens last night. A part of me said that, and then I realized this isn't the last 15, 16 years of the Cleveland
I'll tell
Browns.
you
This
one
is
thing.
a much better version.
Baker did play really well last night, but for the Browns to make a move in the playoffs, they better have more rushing attempts than pass attempts because
Agreed.
you
You better run Chubb and Hunt, and preferably Chubb because he's the better back. Hunt's the better guy coming out of the backfield to catch passes.
You're right.
But if you have a steady dose of Nick Chubb, splash a little Baker passing, that's a good team. Offensively, defensively, they're still a heaping steam of garbage. in the back seven.
They were bend but don't break last night.
Well,
so,
I mean, it's the Giants
I
playing
know.
with a backup quarterback.
I know, but they were still trying to get to playoff spots.
That's true. I get it. I get it.
You know, and let's not forget Jankovic or Janovich. This kid is one hell of a blocker, and put him into the mix with those two running backs and a couple strong tight ends. That defines the Cleveland Browns. And in my mind, Baker's a distant second. If he blossoms while all that's happening, man, we're sitting good.
Well, you'll be a tough out in the playoffs, but you got some unfinished business yet.
Oh yeah, well, they're going to plug in some D next year. That's all there is to it.
Well, I would spend the whole damn draft on defense if I were the Browns, because you don't need much on offense.
Pretty much. You know, we still have Cleveland Browns fans that want to draft a college quarterback in the first round, which is totally stupid. But
well,
on that note, I got to go make some food, guys. Ron, give me a call whenever.
What's the menu today?
I don't know. Leftovers. Nothing fancy today. We got some pork roast in here. I'm going to make something with. I got all kind of fixings that I could whip up. I got to clean the refrigerator out.
All right, got to clean that fridge out before Christmas.
Amen.
All
right, guys. Thanks for the time.
All right, man. 330-886-0813.
I love that he said fixins. I thought that was only Colonel Sanders thing. All the fixins.
Oh no, that's part south right there.
I like it. All the fixins.
That hence the term I'm fixing
Colonel
to.
Sanders melted while bringing us this piping hot dinner with all the fixins.
The end of the
Why
commercial
did it
where
have to
he
be
goes,
so piping hot?
I'm out of here.
Hey, let's get to high school hoops.
Amen. Okay, like we said, I thought it was a misprint because I was looking at this, girls basketball around the area, and I'm reading the paper, and I'm like, South Range scored 83 and lost. Hoban scored 92.
Right.
What the hell kind of a basketball game was this?
It was high level basketball.
Good.
Both teams extremely athletic. They were running the floor like it was. If you would have put a shot clock in that game, I don't think there would have been a shot clock violation. I don't think either team held the ball for more than 30 seconds in almost 90% of the possessions. It was full transition. Both teams liked the press. Both teams were athletic enough to break the press. Back and forth. Oh, gee, it was so fun. Lene Riley from Hoban, one of the more dominant post players I've ever seen, scored 47 points. I mean, the South Range was balanced. They had Izzy Lamparty with 28, Lexi Giles with 26. I mean, it was just the best, I think probably the best basketball game we'll have all year. I mean, it's going to be hard to top 92-83 overtime, that high level of basketball.
Okay, does it make it good because there were so many points scored and defense was optional, or was it because it was back and forth?
I mean, it wasn't like they were playing quote-unquote bad defense. It was just both teams were playing the style where they thrive the most, which is pressing and making – and that also worked against the team. So
you break the press, you get an easy layup.
I mean there were a lot of hard shots. Lene Riley got a lot of rebounds. She was really dominating the post. So it wasn't like it was quote unquote bad defense. It was just two athletic teams running with the ball. It was fun to watch.
Okay, let me ask you. I mean, before we even go into any other games, you bring up the fact this might have been the best basketball game and probably the best basketball game, boys or girls, that we'll see all year long. What constitutes, score-wise, a good basketball game? Because this is where things can be a little interesting, because 51-50 can be a great game, but you don't have a lot of points scored. But it might not be because of poor offense. It could be great defense where kids didn't have a open shot. There's a big difference between blowing a wide open three and having a three that not go in because somebody had a hand in your face all night long.
I don't put it as score. I put it more as like what level of basketball was being played.
Yeah.
And to your point, if it's 51-50, but both teams are playing lockdown half court offense.
Yeah.
And it's not sloppy. It's just you can't get any room anywhere.
Exactly.
That's fun to watch too.
Absolutely, it is.
But then when you also go into overtime and you're tied at 76 at the end of regulation, and the teams, I think it was 76-74 it was 74-72, South Range with 40 seconds left. So both teams scored, back and forth a couple of times with 40 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
It was just South Range scored to take the 76-74 lead with 20 seconds left. Hoban went right down, got it to Lene Riley, who had the turnaround layup to tie the game, and then South Range went right back down. Bree Kohler went through contact, couldn't finish. They didn't call a foul. Lene Riley had the rebound, running down with like 3 seconds left, just couldn't get down the court quite in time. It was barely. Barely didn't get the shot off, and then went to overtime. And then I think everyone, the coaching staff and me and Brennan on the broadcast, when it went to overtime, we looked at each other and said, it's going to be really tough for South Range to pull out, because you could just tell they were gassed. They were they hit a brick wall in overtime. And Hoban is a Division I team. They had a lot more depth, and they had a little bit more conditioning in overtime after a game like that. But
is Hoban a 2 or are they a 1?
They're a 1.
They're a 1. That's a dang good upgrade on the schedule by South Range.
It's probably the best team that South Range will play in their regular season.
Yeah,
by far.
And this pretty much should put everyone on notice in Division III. The defending champs aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
I hate this kind of math where you say, well, this team beat this team and this beat this.
Yeah.
But just to put in perspective a little bit, Hoban lost to CVCA by 7, 73-66, I think.
Yeah.
Was the score. CVCA lost to Highland by 10. And Highland's considered the best of Division III, but maybe one of the best girls basketball programs in any division.
Okay. Berlin Highland.
They won 101-8 last week in a conference game. So when you say, okay, this Hoban lost to 7 to a team that lost to Highland by 10, it just gives you a little bit of a measuring stick of where you're at compared to where you want to be. Because Coach Fitchell has said, our goals, get to Dayton. That's what he thinks his team can do. I don't know how the region's going to shake up with the super regional.
If there is one, I hope there is
right.
one, because the excitement level that we had in volleyball and soccer and all the other fall sports, my God, it was fun.
But, at one point, he's also not trying to look ahead. He wants to take it one day at a time. But it's also, I think he scheduled that game simply because it would have been a great measuring stick on how he stacks up against other Division III opponents that he might see regional final, state semifinal, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you push that team to overtime and you can score 82 points on them and you're running with them and they couldn't stop your high score, that's one of the things that makes you think, okay, if we take care of business, go day by day, get through this season, there's no reason why we can't be one of the teams in the conversation.
Okay, other hosted Western Reserve. And Western Reserve got them 63-57, and that is a gigantic win for this basketball team.
It's funny because you look at Western Reserve's schedule in the last 3 weeks. They played Dalton, which is a Division IV regional mainstay, beat them by 3. Then they played Doylestown Chippewa, which was a Division III regional mainstay. They're usually in the regionals, or they're usually close to the regionals. Next week in the South Range Holiday Tournament, Western Reserve plays Poland, a Division II regional mainstay. So their schedule, they're going up and up and up the ladder, and consistently challenging themselves. They were supposed to play Indian Creek this week. It didn't happen, but I give them props. They're really, really, really testing themselves and really getting that measuring stick.
To give everyone an idea where Dalton is, Saturday night they knocked off Division I Massillon 57-47. So that victory just continues to look even better when Dalton is starting to take care of business in the
Division
Stark County corridor of northeastern
that's
Ohio.
Division IV taking down a Division I, and not like a Division I
good
sleeper.
Division I program.
Massillon Jackson, right?
That's the Massillon.
Or
Massillon Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's not bad. That's not too shabby. Also, a shout out, because we've done enough of their games this year. Shout out to Camel. They finally got their first victory of the season. Interestingly enough, when Larry Scragg and I are doing Camel games, We have done 3 Camel games this year. We've watched them play Lowellville, we've watched them play Heartland Christian, and we've watched them play Crestview. And in all 3 of their games, Camel has scored 20 points in all 3 of their games. Camel gets a victory over Heartland Christian. They get a victory in the rematch, 42-37. Congratulations to Camel for getting the victory. That's needed to be said because they'd been busting their butts trying to improve, and they finally got a victory on Saturday. So
it's a big win
congratulations
for a struggling program.
Yeah, absolutely. West Branch, it was good to see them get a victory over Canton South, 44-26. So they get a victory. Ursuline gets a nice victory over Boardman. Cardinal Mooney, Mooney's now officially busy because Cardinal Mooney opened this season, what was it, last week? They opened the season, I guess, a week ago tonight, actually. They played Crestview and lost to Crestview. Rebels came from behind and beat them. Cardinal Mooney hasn't lost a game since. They've won 3 in a row. They just knocked off Austintown Fitch Saturday night, 54-44. It's safe to say that Mooney took that loss and did a really, really nice job of getting themselves back in order. They're now 3-1 on the season,
And they have South Range on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, woo.
Yeah. That's a good win. It's a really, really good win. On the
Score you didn't say, by the way, United won their 5th in a row, and another nail-biter beating East Liverpool 39-38 in the Potter Fieldhouse.
yeah,
So they keep winning these close games.
United has, and we had their coach on last week, and United was talking about, well, we saw something early in the season, and we said, we're gonna go with this kind of an offense. Yeah, they've paid dividends, to say the least. Not a bad weekend. You knock off Leetonia on Thursday, who was previously unbeaten. You go down to iconic Potter Fieldhouse in East Liverpool. You bring down the Potters. Not bad.
Another big test tonight. They got Jackson Milton, who has really good guard play. Kylie Wilson and Chelsea Williams do a great job for the Blue Jays, and it's just another test for United. It's that loss. I think that loss against Salem earlier in the season, was a bad 37-point loss. I think that's when Coach Sigler kind of said they had that come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, where they
the coaching staff was like, "This isn't working. Let's try something else."
Yeah,
and boom,
picked it up on the fly.
So
and thankfully for United, they've got kids that are, they're flexible to the point where they'll do, they have enough square people to fit into the square hole and round people to fit into the round hole. So
that's where I think being young kind of helps them, because I think it's easier to kind of adjust on the fly with a young team. Because they're not molded into this system.
Agreed.
So they can morph a little bit, and they do have a very young team, and I think the coaching staff has done a really good job of, like we said,
agreed,
molding to what will fit best, not just sticking to a style and making the players fit into it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Over the weekend for the boys, can we just say Cardinal Mooney is legit? Because they're legit. They go and play a very good Division I Boardman team. Now, keep in mind, Mooney's 3 this year. They're a D3 program. They're not D2. So they'll go to Salem or whatever the supersize fries. If it's Salem and Warren combining for the one regional, which we think is going to happen, who knows?
Yeah, and if it's like volleyball, there won't be a district spot. The high seed will host all the way through.
Yeah, and Mooney's good, because if you play Boardman and you play Boardman really tough, ultimately they lose by 9, but they hold Boardman's offense to 51 points. Okay, you have my attention.
They were up after 3 quarters, too.
Yeah.
So it was a fourth quarter kind of eruption on the Spartans' part.
Yeah, and then you turn around and blow out Camel on Saturday night to take some frustration out on a game that you probably should have won. This is a good Cardinal Mooney team. I look forward to seeing this team play during the course of the 2020-2021 campaign.
And
this
another
year.
team that just Springfield keeps on rolling, and they're undefeated still, and their offense is going to consistently be in the 70s. I mean, very balanced, too. So, I mean, a lot of good things come out of the Springfield basketball team right now.
And this is a team that if you're looking to try to get them below 60, good luck. And you brought up the great point of balance. The reason why this offense is so good is because it is so balanced. You'll have 4 or 5 guys that are capable of double digits on a game in, game out basis. And when you have that, you can't stop that.
That's why I'm really excited for tomorrow. They play at South Range. And, you look on paper, South Range hasn't won yet. Springfield's undefeated. And you say, well, this is going to be a blowout. But Coach Cullen consistently has really, really good defenses, no matter how much his offense is struggling. And it's struggling right now. His offense is really struggling. But he's still keeping teams under 60. So, you go into Springfield and maybe if you take them out of their offensive rhythm, what we asked is with the football team, it's a little bit different with the basketball team. How do they deal with adversity? How do they deal with not being able to score at will like they have been? So we'll see what South Range's defensive game plan is tomorrow, and if taking Springfield out of their rhythm does anything to help. Because, man, if South Range could get their first win over Springfield, the rival, that would just be really big for that program. And then if Springfield can prove their offense against a really good defense, then that'll be big for them. So whichever way that game goes, I think it's going to be a pivotal, one of those hinge games for the rest of the season that propels a team forward.
We're going to talk about a team that didn't play over the weekend, and that was Lisbon. But there is a score that really puts a feather into the cap of Lisbon. Steubenville came up to Cardinal Mooney, played Mooney relatively decent for a while, then wound up getting beat at the end of the game. Malvern, the team that Lisbon lost to, their only loss of the season. Malvern beat the living hell out of Steubenville on Saturday night, 83-54.
Jeez.
And if this doesn't tell everyone just how good of a basketball team Lisbon has right now. Now, unfortunately, we were expecting Lisbon going into Crestview on Tuesday night to play the Rebels. That ain't happening. Lisbon canceled. I don't know if it's COVID-related or if they wanted to put a league game in. I'm not 100% sure. East Liverpool is taking Lisbon's place, and the Potters will come up to Rebel Fieldhouse and play the Rebels on Tuesday night, which should be a fun game too. But even though Lisbon didn't play per se, that Saturday night score, or Saturday night massacre, if you will, involving Malvern getting a huge, just a gigantic win over Steubenville. First thing I thought of was, well, Lisbon must be pretty good because they played this team decently. And this was a Steubenville team that had played Cardinal Mooney. So a really, really good score. The other thing that I saw, Valley Christian had the very rare Friday-Saturday back-to-backer, and they did well, thank you very much. Valley Christian, a defensive struggle, got past Leetonia 46-42, and then they turned around and they amped it up offensively on Saturday night. They knocked off a pretty good Heartland Christian team. I think they only had one loss coming into this game. They knocked off Heartland Christian 62-54. Those were the first 2 games of the year for Valley Christian.
Yeah, and we expected Valley to kind of come in and make some noise in the EOAC, and now when we see how good Lisbon is looking, and I'm very excited for a Valley Christian Lisbon matchup, or whenever it happens. I don't know when it's going to happen because the scheduling problems with Lisbon right now, but whenever that does happen, it's going to be a clash of 2 really good teams, and it might be the one that decides the EOAC.
Bears had their chances, and the only reason why they didn't win this game, 2 points in the third quarter, and that was it. And the beautiful thing is they held Valley Christian to 5 points in a quarter,
right,
but couldn't take advantage of that. And they had a nice 1-2 punch with Ian Davis and I believe
Lennon, right?
Yeah, Dylan Lennon. Valley Christian put down the D, 42 points. And then they turned around and only gave up 54 to Heartland. That's okay. You have my attention. You're giving up 48 a game the first 2 games. You got my attention.
That's why the Lisbon matchup is so intriguing, because Valley has a very good defense, and they might be able to shut down the shooters of the Blue Devils, but it's a very hard offense to shut down.
The law offices of Brownfield
and
Sifke
and
McCullough. Yeah, that's
so. It's gonna be really fun whenever it happens to see Valley go up against Lisbon.
the one score that just absolutely my jaw dropped when I saw this final score on Saturday. Struthers literally doubled East Liverpool at the field house on Friday night. Now, I thought Struthers would win, but to double up a team as good as East Liverpool, and I guess we'll find out how good they are tomorrow night when they play Crestview.
And remember, East Liverpool lost a little bit of their core from last year's team, so they're a little bit down, but that's still a really impressive win for Struthers, and they're flying high. They're flying really high.
They score 88. They only give up 44. That's impressive. I mean that is really, really impressive. A fantastic win. I can't wait to see how good of a team Cheney is going to be when we flip the calendar to 2021 and knock on wood, we have basketball in the city.
Another exciting thing is McDonald boys. They're coming back. They're playing Wednesday. So
there you go.
Yeah. So
they kind of told Trumbull County, hey.
Basically, what it is you're allowed to practice now.
Yeah.
Well, technically, you're allowed to play games, but Trumbull County thought that most teams would want 2 weeks of practice. McDonald just said, you know what? We're going to get more practice in a game than we ever will in
it's not a bad decision.
So they're going to go and they're going to play Jackson Milton on Wednesday. And
okay.
I think they got Salem also. I think they're going to play Valley on Wednesday, but they also have Jackson Milton and Salem scheduled in the next couple weeks.
And that's not a bad matchup because Valley's only played 2 games.
So they'll have, I think, 3 games by the time that January 4th deadline kind of drops.
Yeah, because nobody's in their right mind is going to play on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That's not going to happen. Now, you could play the day after Christmas, conceivably.
Right.
You can play on a Wednesday. You can play on a Tuesday. And then next week, same thing, because no one in their right mind is going to want to play on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, except for YSU, because they're going to be playing a doubleheader. Both boys and girls, or men and women, excuse me. The men and the women are going to be playing New Year's Day as well as January the 2nd. We'll get into YSU in a little bit.
And I'm just really hoping that the women have, gotten through all their stuff and they can finally get a game in because I'm so excited for that program.
Drop some holy water on that basketball floor. I mean, seriously. Just do what you need to get a priest in there and exorcise the COVID demons out of that place. I just want basketball at Beagley. It's especially after seeing. I don't know. Did you see the Penguins on national TV yesterday?
Yeah, they looked really.
Yeah,
really
that was
good.
fun.
That was their first program win ever in Northern Kentucky.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And your team is headed in the right direction.
They got a double-double, which is a strong performance in a conference game against what a lot of people think will be one of the better teams in the conference. So one of your guys goes up and gets a double-double. I thought it was a really gritty, and that's what we've seen from them all year, this grittiness. And wasn't the greatest start because that's one of the things we wanted them to improve on was getting out to a good start. But they put it together in the second half like they always do, and they came away with, I believe, a 10-point win.
10-point win.
So,
yeah, 10-point win. And it was and the 2 freshmen, Vargo and the kid from Ontario, they played really, really well. So I got no complaints. I'll take a split down at the BB&C any day of the week and twice on Sunday, literally twice on Sunday.
And to split after losing the first one,
yes.
I thought if YSU's in a split, they better win the first one.
Exactly.
But they did the other thing.
We'll hear from Rob on Thursday when he calls in. And
we gonna do Christmas Eve?
Well, that's true. We might have to sneak him in on Wednesday. Yeah, we gotta arrange the deck, if you will. Get the captain's deck. We got to arrange it a little bit. Yeah. So we'll try to get him in before Christmas Eve. Work him in around Brian Driscoll.
Right.
And Brian will have a lot to say about the Saturday game against Clemson. Man.
I don't think there's much to say. You just
It's just,
we'll
it is what
talk
it
about it
is.
Wednesday, but it's
yeah, we'll
just
talk
one of
about it
those-
Wednesday. I mean,
Well, it's one of
just-
those ones where it's like, what do you
Yeah,
say?
you got away. I mean, it's just, you once again had an opportunity to show everyone you're back, and once again you drizzled down your leg, and now you have to play Alabama. Now, the good news is
Good luck.
Alabama looks beatable because Florida put all kinds of points on
Well,
the
yeah,
board
but their
against them.
offense is like, boop, boop,
Oh,
boop,
yeah, the
boop,
offense is crazy. I mean, that's just good.
Which
God.
is this, it's so weird to see Alabama kind of forget about defense and focus on their offense, because for years it was like, Alabama's a professional defense.
Yeah,
But now they're like, defense,
yeah, yeah. The
Mac
whole-
Jones, Heisman maybe.
We'll see.
I think
see.
that might be one of the Heisman performances. I
It
think
was
now,
a fun game.
I think now it's really between him and Trevor,
Yeah.
and it's this which do they make that decision before the?
Well, I think they
championship?
got to make it before the bowl games.
Right. So
Yeah.
we won't get to. I wish we got to see how they performed against each other before we made the decision on who wins the Heisman.
By the way, speaking of bowl games, did you know that bowl season starts today?
That's crazy, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like we just got the rankings.
It actually starts today. Appalachian State is in action today.
in the Liberty Bowl.
No.
No?
It's the Who Gives a Crap Bowl. No, it's the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Myrtle Beach. They're playing,
Appalachian State will be playing North Texas.
All right. Well, hey,
Know your bowls.
we got. I love the bowl pick'em. So
Yeah.
so this is when I get fun because you do the confidence points and you get invested in all these games.
Okay, so let me
I haven't
run
done it
down.
yet. I got to do that.
Let me run down all of the bowls, and then we'll. Actually, you know what? We'll do this after Ballish.
Right.
Because there's a boatload of bowl games.
There are. There's not as many as there usually is because a lot of teams have dropped out. But
Yeah.
I think in a normal year there's 42, probably a little bit less than that. I don't know. I haven't looked at the.
Somebody needs to explain to me why Army
What?
is not in a bowl game
Here,
right now.
I got the news today. It was something that really did not sit well with me, but it was because the Independence Bowl, I believe they were going to be in. There was contractual obligations with conferences or whatever. I don't know who's in it, but for some reason there was a contractual obligation, and now a team with a losing record is going to be in that bowl over Army, which is just ridiculous because they were 9-2. So Army got kicked out of a bowl game because of contractual obligations, and hopefully, one of the teams that sucks is going to be like, do the right thing and be like, we don't really need a bowl game. Well, we're going to take a step back and let Army play in it.
Is Army an independent?
No, they're in the Navy. They're in a conference, right?
They're not in the AAC. I know that.
Because
Because if they're an independent, can we please put them in the military bowl, which would be appropriate?
the Independence Bowl, right? That's what they were supposed to be in, and I think a team with a losing record got into that bowl because of a contractual obligation, which is just like
I don't understand how in the world
there's still hope because that team can back out of that bowl and then Army can just boop right in. But
yeah. I just don't understand that one at all. I really don't. It's the
money.
top 25 team.
it's money.
It's come on. You disrespected the armed
And
forces.
it's Army. It's
Yeah.
Army. Like there aren't a lot of easy wins in sports.
This one's a slam dunk.
That's an easy win.
I mean,
Like,
this
put
is a
Army in a
slam
bowl
dunk.
game.
Put him in a friggin' bowl game. Good God.
Jeez.
All right, we're going to take a timeout on the other end. We'll hear from Dana Ballas, 21 Sports Director. He's coming up next. It's a Monday edition of Running Point, presented, of course, by the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're looking for a new or slightly used automobile, I cannot stress this enough. You need three qualities when searching for a car. You need to have a really good sales department, a really good finance department, and a really good service department. And the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown, they have all three. They're a freaking dynasty. They got all three of them. I'm surprised that Belichick isn't part of the administration at Greenwood Chevrolet.
He might be because he doesn't have anything to do in the playoffs.
He's not going to the playoffs, that's for sure. Well played, sir. Well
also,
played.
representing K Squared Marketing, one of our other wonderful sponsors. I got them
I got the
represented
shield.
today.
You got K Squared. Tomorrow I'll wear my K Squared shirt.
So we want to thank them for the wonderful gifts. They gave us some shirts. They gave us some mugs.
I got G. Burbick Farm shirt too. So I think what I'm going to do is wear one of them one day and the other one the other day, and we'll have everyone taken care of. So there you go.
Yeah, we are wonderful sponsors of YSN.
Indeed we do. All right, Ballish coming up next. Stick around.
21 News, Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
Boy is recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet. For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hardwig in studio as well, and joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, we bring in 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
Doing well. All right, high school football, good God, Ron, it's winter time. High school basketball over the weekend, and we saw some smattering of some pretty decent games, and I know it's early on. What has stuck out from you from this weekend, and who put the needle up in the right direction after this weekend?
Well, I think first of all, Ron, obviously, I think just being able to play is the big thing for these schools. Trumbull County, their health order expires tomorrow, and from all indications that I've talked to and the people that I've talked to and from what I've heard, they'll be able to start resuming practice and get some games in, after the first of the year. So that's a good thing. I just think it's real early to tell. I mean, in basketball, everybody gets in the tournament. It's so hard because you just can't get into that flow. I mean, athletic directors are doing a great job of trying to, make the schedules work and trying to get games, but, you have this team scheduled and then they can't play because of something, and it's been a nightmare. And I think, you just can't get a read on some of these teams because they just haven't played enough. So, it's difficult to pinpoint, I think we had 2 games on Saturday. In a normal year, we probably have, 7 or 8 games. I think we had 6 games on Friday. In a normal year, it's, close to 20. So it's the same teams that you're seeing. Mahoning and Columbiana County teams, and hopefully things will get out, with Trumbull County after the holidays. Not to avoid your question, it's just, you see the same teams, and, you just don't know the level of competition because, a lot of these teams are kind of playing each other right now.
And you brought up Trumbull County, and the date is tomorrow. And some schools, I think McDonald being the one that we know of, have said, we're just going to play a game because we don't need 2 weeks of practice. We're gonna use games, and we're gonna try to get them in and use some of these games as practice. McDonald has scheduled a game on Wednesday. So how many Trumbull County teams do you think will follow McDonald and kind of think, if we're allowed to play and nothing's guaranteed, let's just try to play 2 or 3 games before January 4th and see if we can use some time on the court as a substitute for practice?
Well, the order, and I don't know what the order is calling for. I don't know, any of that stuff. I don't know, how all that stuff is going to work. All I do know is that, these schools have to, I don't know if they have to get some practices, and I don't know what the order basically states or doesn't state. All I know is that, at this point, schools are going to try to play as many games as they can, and the order comes to a close tomorrow. And again, I just don't know what practices or I don't know what it entails. A lot of Trumbull County schools have scheduled games for after the first of the year, and I think this is a day-by-day process. I think it certainly is.
Dana, do you expect after the first of the year for teams, especially teams in Trumbull County and the 2 city schools, Youngstown East and Youngstown Cheney, do you expect them to do a dead-on sprint in terms of scheduling games? And if so, isn't that going to isn't that going to kind of amp up the risk of a catastrophe or a breakout of COVID?
Well, I think, Ron, it's you have to be smart with this, and I think schools are going to do that. Administrators are going to do that. Just like when it comes to in-person classrooms. I mean, what's the best thing to do? And I think it's a school-by-school decision. I think this is a day-by-day, school-by-school. However you want to put it. I really think at this point, a lot of schools, a lot of athletic directors are going to talk amongst themselves and say, okay, this is what we have to do. Do you rush in and start things right away? I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I mean, if you get 12, 13 games in and you go to the tournament, that's 12 or 13 games maybe you never had. So, I just think it's a school by school. It's a case by case, no pun intended, situation.
And you talked about the teams that are playing now, and then the schedules are kind of modulant because there are only so many teams you can play in this area. But some teams have taken advantage of that and gone outside the area and scheduled really good opponents to kind of beef up their schedule while they can. What kind of advantage do you think that'll have to the teams that don't do that compared to the teams that do?
Well, I don't know if I think right now there's just, teams are looking for teams to play, whether that's beefing up the schedule or not. I just think you've got to play with the cards you're dealt with. And obviously if you play better competition, that's going to help you in the long run if there's no layoff and that sort of thing. So, again, I just think administrators have to do, what's best. And, if you got to play, I think teams would rather play 20 games on the road if they had to. And one school may be in that situation, playing all their games on the road after this thing, after things settle down a little bit. So I just think, again, I hate to be redundant, but you just got to be smart about this, and you got to do what's in the best interest of the kids. Now, I don't agree with playing games, tomorrow if you're a Trumbull County school or whenever. I don't agree with that. I think these players need to kind of get back in the gym. I mean, when you work out on your own, it's not the same as working out with the team, and that's the way I would think.
21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Youngstown State, the men open up their conference schedule with a split against Northern Kentucky. They lose on Saturday, struggled in the second half in their loss on ESPN2. YSU beats Northern Kentucky by 10 points. They get their first victory ever at the BBC Arena in Northern Kentucky, and they beat the Norse down there for the first time. And obviously a split against one of the three best teams, according to the so-called experts. That's not a bad way to start out the season, Dana.
No, and the old adage is you win your games at home and you got to take 3 to 4 on the road, and that's one on the road that that they were able to gain. So I think anytime you can get a win on the road in this conference is a plus. There's kind of been that whatever cloud hanging over YSU said that they couldn't win there. I mean, I thought they played probably their best game of the year, and I know that sounds dumb because they won the game, but I think it was not a full 40 minutes, but it was probably their best 40 minutes that they've played. Again, when you're playing these back-to-back games, that's new for everybody, and it's how teams adjust, who makes the adjustments. I mean, I look at it this way: you play the game, and then you got a 20-hour halftime, and you come back and play the second half, which is game 2. And again, YSU made the adjustments they had to make.
And the one win they did get, they split, but they won the game that was on national TV. And when you kind of get a win and you look really good on national TV, I imagine that's got to be kind of good for a recruiting standpoint to have your program be viewed by everyone in the nation, and you can maybe get some kids in the tri-state area that maybe you wouldn't normally get.
Well, and again, that's when you're on national TV, you can't buy that. There's no dollar figure on getting that exposure, and that's been told to me many, many times, the exposure through television. So I think it will not hurt YSU. Unfortunately, they were going up against the NFL. The good news is the Browns weren't playing and the Steelers weren't playing, but there was still NFL going on. So your basketball fans hopefully were tuned into it, and again, if it's a game. That's the type of game that you want to play on national TV, and especially get the win, is when you go on the road, play probably your best game of the year, in my opinion, and do it on national television so people can see it.
Dana Ballas, 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. I thought the Penguins decked out in their black jerseys. It had a really nice look on Sunday, and the last time Penguins wore an all-black jersey was in the football season quite a few years ago, and they didn't fare too well. So it was nice to see YSU in a pretty nice-looking uniform top and busting out the black and getting a victory in the black gear.
Well, and again, if you're superstitious, they'll probably wear those quite a bit, depending on how they do. And again, uniforms are part of it, but that doesn't win you games. I just thought they really, really played well, and I thought Calhoun did a great job.
And Dana, before we let you go over the weekend, some football news in the area, because East is pending board approval. They're trying to get a new football coach, so kind of dive into that and who they're trying to hire and what he might bring to the Bears.
Yeah, we learned yesterday, and we're able to get it out there, that Mark Ason, the former coach at Jackson Milton, will be the head coach, or pending the approval of the CEO, Justin Jennings, will be the next head coach of the East Golden Bears. Mark, led Jackson Milton to their 2 only playoff appearances in school history in 2015 and 2016. Kind of got out of it at 2017, I believe, was an assistant at Cheney last year for the past couple of years, and, an opportunity to kind of get your foot back in that head coaching job. So I know Mark, and Mark will do a good job there, and certainly, East they have some work to do, as all programs do. So, with that job being filled, with Bill Bourne filling the Matthews job, I mean, Liberty, Valley Christian, Champion, Boardman, Poland, those jobs are still open, and some of those schools will wait until the holidays to kind of see what they want to do and how they want to handle it. Other schools are working at it as we speak now, trying to fill the position. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 or 8 openings. So, football will have a different look next year, at least with some head coaches. But, you always kind of have that this time of year.
Dana, how surprised were you that Bill Boren got a job, a head coaching job at Matthews? And I know he's trying to pursue 300 career wins, but let's be honest, Bill Boren is well into his 80s. This is quite the hire by Matthews.
Ron, I'm not surprised at all. Bill Boren told me several years ago he wanted the Matthews job. No disrespect to anybody else who's been the head coach there, but he wanted that job. It kind of fell into his lap, so to speak. Bill's going to put in the hours. Whether if Bill's getting paid $4,000, he's going to put in 4,000 hours there. Not surprised at all. Football is his life. He relates well to kids. He relates well to how the game has changed. Bill wanted another head coaching job, and I kind of knew this was going to happen a couple of weeks ago. They waited until the board meeting to actually make it official, but Bill is one of these guys where football is part of his life, and he loves coaching kids. He loves coaching at the high school level. I mean, his 56th year as a football coach, his 50th as a head football coach. I told Bill when I talked to him last week on the phone, I said, Bill, you may not only be the oldest coach in high school football, you may be the oldest coach in the state of Ohio in any sport. So
yeah, that's very true.
Not surprised at all. He has a staff together all right. He's doing some things. He already has a staff in place, Ron, and some of the younger guys who get hired, don't get a staff into place, that quick. So I'm happy for Bill. Needs 5 wins to get to that magical 300, and hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, hopefully it happens in 2021. Dana, we can't thank you enough. Always a pleasure, sir.
All right, guys, have a great holiday.
You as well. Dana Ballas, 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Pending board approval, this is a fantastic hire by Youngstown East.
Yeah, I think is someone that can, as Dana said, he already proved it, what he can do with a program with Jackson Milton that was struggling before he got there. And he took them to 2 playoff appearances, and I believe the only 2 in the program's history. So he can definitely take what he's given and turn it into something really good. So I think it's a good hire. I think he'll be able to manage that team. They got a lot of work to do, and that's not going to scare him away. But they do have a lot of work to do.
Listen, and this is no disrespect whatsoever to Jackson Milton, but they had not had a playoff history prior to Coach Asu being there, and he leads this program that was dormant in terms of playing in a playoff. And he led them to 2 playoff appearances.
And then you see what they're doing now, and you realize that he's one of the guys that he leaves a program better than where he found it.
Yep.
And that's so important for when you're looking to hire a coach and you look at the last place he's been. Not just what did he do while he was there, but how did he leave it? Because if he's one of those guys that just left the cupboard bare and said, sayonara, I'm not going to help you guys build anything, then that kind of tells you maybe we don't want this guy around. But he built that program, and he left Jackson Milton into a spot that was better than when he got there. And that says a lot about what he'll do for East, not just while he's there, but eventually when he leaves, your program's going to be in a better place because he was there.
Well, and again, this whole conversation is based upon program, which is not necessarily high school. It goes well beyond high school because the program actually starts below 7th grade.
East is not one of those schools that's looking to bring in a coach to get one talented team really far. We see those kind of hires, and that's fine, but East is in a different situation where they need to build. So that's a great hire for that situation.
It's intriguing, and Dana brought up all of the schools that are open. Boardman's open, Poland is open, Valley Christian is open. Liberty shouldn't be, but it is open. And a couple of other, it's just an editorial comment, a couple of other schools that are open.
And you look at those, and some of those are, like we said, some of them need some building, and some of them are really ready to compete for, regionals now. So the different coaches that you hire in those different situations, you don't want to bring in a coach that's looking to build up a program to a team that really needs to win right now.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do the opposite either.
And there's some interesting names out there that might fit the bill.
Yeah, and then
then you have some names out there that weren't in the coaching fraternity last year that might want a Success Story Part 2 remake. And
The
we'll
other interesting thing is some of those schools really like to hire internal.
Oh yeah,
and we'll see if that stays the course, or if someone from the outside finally cracks.
Boardman is a classic example.
That's where I was going. I didn't want to name. I didn't.
Boardman hires Boardman people.
Right. So
and that's a history that they've had.
It might change.
Yeah, and you're right. It may very well change. That's a fascinating job because. There is a ridiculous amount of talent, not just in high school, but below high school at Boardman. And if you play your cards right and play to the strengths instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, this team could be a lot of fun to watch. Not that they weren't a lot of fun to watch before, because I thought Coach Ignazio did a pretty nice job.
You need new blood. Is what that program needs.
I think so.
It needs a culture adjustment, and it needs kind of one of those. I don't want this to sound despair, but it got kind of stale, and that's not to the It's nothing that Ignazio could have done. Once you lose a program, once you lose a culture, there's nothing you can do, no matter how good of a coach you are. And I felt like watching them last year, it just looked kind of like you just need something new. You just need a new culture. You just need a new taste, and they're going to bring someone in that's new.
And it's as simple as putting a round peg into a round hole.
Right.
Play to your strengths. And for me, Boardman is one of the largest offensive lines, and they're huge up front, mainly because they've had a great wrestling program, and they have
That's an understatement.
They have beefaronis up front.
You're gonna have like the scene from The Blind Side where a mom's calling from the stands. Run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, and I listen, I know the culture is such, and in the game, and the football game has changed, and everyone wants to throw the ball, run a spread offense, run this, run that. Hell, if you got guys that are behemoths up front, I ain't throwing the ball. I'm going to run the ball. And if you want to put 9 or 10 guys in the box, okay, now I'll start to throw the ball. But I got these 5 big guys that can pretty much put you on your backside. Oh, yeah, I'm going to let these guys loose and we're going to run the ball. Right. 3 yards and a cloud of pebbles in Boardman because they got the turf and you got the little pebbles that come up when you get knocked to the ground. It's not 3 yards and a cloud of dust anymore, unless, of course, you have a grass field.
Old Spartan adage, inch by inch, we'll win the war,
That's it.
Battle of Thermopylae.
You give me 5 guys that are that big, man, I ain't throwing the ball 40 times a game. I am going to run.
I'd be hard-pressed to throw it more than 10 times.
I am going to run some more, baby. That's my MO, and that's what I'm doing. Not to say that you have to do it 100% of the time. I mean, but if you have that ungodly talent up front, you got to use it.
And don't think that means you have to go to a wishbone either, because that offensive line isn't built for the option offense.
Exactly.
I think most coaches know that, but to have an option offense, you have to have more of a lean, athletic offensive line.
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, and if we flip it to basketball, then we'll get Champ up here. If you flip it to basketball, it's like having a guy 6'8" in the post, but we're going to be a 3-point shooting team. Huh? No. All right, let's get to Champ. Champ, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What up, brother?
How are you guys hanging? Have a fun weekend?
Yeah, my Bills clinched the East. I'm a happy camper.
It was a really fun weekend, Champ. We had one that I got to call, I think, maybe one of the best basketball games I've ever seen in my life. And then, the Chiefs, another strong win over the Saints, and Georgia Tech basketball got a couple wins. So it was a good weekend.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, and I got to admit, the more I watch this team, the more I'm impressed with how Mayfield has just become a different quarterback. He's become a leader, and he's just making good plays, and he's become just a completely different player we saw the last few years, and whatever, it's working. And with that running game. And they don't even really. They've been winning games too with their star player on defense, not 100%, but they did what they had to do. I mean, everyone says, "Well, it's the Giants," but you know what? There's teams that are losing to these bad teams, but the Browns seem to be focused. And the scenario now for the Browns, they can clinch a playoff spot. And this drought, very simple. If they beat the Jets, then one of three things has to happen. Indy loses to Pittsburgh. They're in if they beat the Jets. If they beat the Jets and Miami loses to Vegas, the Browns are in. Or if the Jets, they beat the Jets and the Ravens lose to the Giants. Now, what's interesting about that is the Indy loss to Pittsburgh is all about Baltimore. It involves Baltimore. But let's say, for example, that none of those things happen. The Browns beat the Jets, but all those other games, nothing happens there. So we go into the last week, and then what happens, it becomes kind of an interesting situation for the Browns, and it gets a little nerve-wracking. And the problem with the Browns right now is the Ravens have a terrible tiebreaker against most of the teams in the AFC. And the way you have, if you know this, the tiebreaker, they have what they call a mini tiebreaker within the division. Whenever you have a list of teams battling for the wild card, only one team from every division can advance to the wild card when you start picking the slots. So I guess what I'm saying is if Baltimore and Cleveland, if Cleveland would lose to Pittsburgh and Baltimore would win out, they would both be 11-5. So every time they have a tiebreaker for like the fifth slot and the sixth slot, Cleveland would not be involved because they would be knocked out because they lost twice to the Ravens. So the Ravens would go on, and the problem with the Ravens is that they pretty much lose the tiebreaker. So every time they go in the tiebreaker, they pick the first slot, they go back to their division, and they do another tiebreaker, and they go ahead of the Browns again, and that keeps happening. And the problem with that is that the Browns could be 11-5, and if Miami finishes 11-5, and if Tennessee does this week beat the Steelers, then the Browns may not even get a chance to get into the major tiebreaker procedure because they can never get past the Ravens, and they could be the team left out at 11-5. As bizarre as that sounds. Now, obviously, I think the tough thing is Miami. Can Miami beat Vegas and at Buffalo the last two games? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Buffalo's motivation is, or
well, the motivation for Buffalo is real simple. They want the 2 seed, and given the fact that we're not going to have a bubble, or at least they're not talking about a bubble right now, a potential second home game in freezing subarctic snowy conditions in Buffalo suits the Bills like a T. So, yeah, they're wanting that 2 seed so they can play the 7 seed in the opening round.
How many risks are they going to take to get that 2 seed, though? I mean, like,
well, they're only one game behind Pittsburgh, and they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, right. And are they going to?
Yeah, but Ron, I guess my question is, will Buffalo have that? Will there be a situation where no matter what happens in that last game, they can't improve their position? Could that happen?
If Buffalo beats New England next Monday night, I'm assuming Pittsburgh wins the division tonight against Cincinnati. If they don't, they got all kinds of problems. Okay. If they win, okay, the division is theirs. Now they got to hang on to that spot. The Pittsburgh-Indianapolis game on Sunday is going to determine it's going to determine a couple of things. But if Buffalo beats New England, and let's say that Pittsburgh wins against the Bengals and the Colts, the Colts, they would be 12-3. The Bills would be 11-4. You still have to play something against Cleveland, because if you lose to the Browns and Buffalo beats Miami, Buffalo has the 2 seed.
Yeah, and I think that's, to me, is the scenario where I think Miami, as we've talked all along, they've had this tough schedule, but they got one game out of the way. They beat New England, and now they play against the Raiders. And I got to tell you, I mean, there's not much confidence going on with the Raiders right now. They're kind of a wreck, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to even muster up enough energy or some players on defense to even beat Miami. But and it's interesting because Baltimore, the only team that they win the tiebreaker against is Indy, because they beat Indy, but they lost to Tennessee, and that's why they want Indianapolis to lose to Pittsburgh in that game. Because otherwise, if Baltimore goes to the tiebreaker and gets that wild card, and they're out of the equation now. Now the Browns can advance on, and this is where the Browns have the tiebreaker against everybody else. They can finally get into the tiebreaker round because Baltimore had already been in that, clinched that spot. But that's a scenario. But I'm not sure about the Miami at Buffalo that last game.
Yeah, let me hang on a second. Let me just get Anthony up to speed.
Whoa.
If Indianapolis and Tennessee are both 11-5, the Browns are 11-5, the Ravens are 11-5, the Dolphins are 11-5. The Browns are screwed from the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're screwed from the playoffs. And who wins the South? Is it Baltimore? Is it Indianapolis or is it Tennessee that wins the South?
If they tied, Tennessee would win the South.
Okay,
if
so Tennessee would win the South. The
Right.
Ravens would have the 5 seed. The Colts would have the 6 seed. The Ravens would have the 5. The Dolphins would have the 6. The Colts would have the 7. The Browns would be SOL.
Right, and that's because the Baltimore Ravens have a 7-5 conference mark at best, and that's not good enough when you compare it to Miami and all these other teams. That's this weird scenario where the Browns kind of get screwed.
I don't understand why the Browns wouldn't get in ahead of Indianapolis because they beat them.
It doesn't matter because they never get to the tiebreaker round. See, once again, when they start the tiebreaker up, you have all those teams 11-5. The first thing that happens is Baltimore goes into the tiebreaker round. Cleveland stays behind. So that's why they pick slot number 5, okay? And then they'll go to 6. They'll start over again. Once again, Cleveland and Baltimore. They can't get past Baltimore, so Baltimore goes ahead into the tiebreaker round, and they don't win that one.
I don't understand because Baltimore's already in the 5, so why would Baltimore have to be in a tiebreaker round again?
Baltimore wouldn't be in the 5.
But he just said they'd be locked into the 5 with the tiebreaker.
No, they wouldn't be because they would not. Because Baltimore lose the tiebreaker to Miami, and they would lose the tiebreaker to Indianapolis, and they would lose the tiebreaker to Tennessee.
But they'd still be the 5 if all of them finished 11-5.
No, because the first one would be the second place team in the South.
My team is the 1 seed.
No, but Miami would go ahead of Baltimore.
Okay, so
that's my point.
Tennessee would go ahead of Miami. Miami would stay at the 6. Baltimore would be at the 7.
If they all finished 11-5, the seeds would be 1 Kansas City, 2 Pittsburgh or Buffalo, whatever. Then 3 would be
Pittsburgh or Buffalo.
Right, but 4 would be Tennessee. 5 would be Baltimore.
No.
11-5.
No. 5 would be Indy.
5 would be Indianapolis. 6 would be Miami. 7 would be Baltimore. And 8 would be Cleveland.
That's not
and that
what
would
you
be
said.
Okay,
that's what confused me.
Okay, then I turned the ball over, traveling on me. Yeah.
Okay.
Would turn the ball over. Yeah, Baltimore would be the 7. Cleveland would be SOL.
All right. Well,
and that's why 11-5 is weird because 11-5 is a pretty good record.
It sucks for Cleveland, but at the end of the day, you had to beat Baltimore. I mean, you didn't, and that's one of the things that's going to come back to bite you if that all kind of works out.
But the chances of them all going 11-5 are remote.
Right.
Yeah, but how about this? How about Cleveland win their last 2 games and 12-4? They're in for sure.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. That would be nice. And as a Bills fan, I say, thank you.
But to do that, they have to beat Pittsburgh, which.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Like I said, if Pittsburgh doesn't beat Cincinnati tonight, they got bigger problems.
Yes.
And then if they beat Cincinnati, what do they have to play for?
The 2 seed.
The 2 seed. So they're going to be going all out.
Well, they're going to have to go all out. Right. Here's the beautiful part of this is.
And they won't know because Buffalo's playing the Monday Night Football game, so it's not like they know that Buffalo lost.
Exactly. You're going to have to play Roethlisberger in the second to the last game of the year, and then if Buffalo beats New England, you're going to have to play your starters against Cleveland, and Buffalo's going to have to play their starters against Miami. So that you're not getting a break unless something happens where, let's say, Pittsburgh loses tonight, and now they're back to a tie, and Buffalo has the
tiebreaker.
You still have to play your starters until something is clinched, and we may not have a clinching until the regular season comes to an end. So everyone's going to be playing their starters unless you're Kansas City. Then they can
obviously,
sit people
for the
down.
Browns, the best case scenario is the Raiders and Dolphins play on Saturday night. So if the Raiders would win that game, then the Browns win their game and they're in.
Yes.
As at least a wild card. That's the best case scenario.
Yes. And again, if Pittsburgh wins tonight against Cincinnati, which they probably will, they win the division, and then that whole wild card thing it's wild card or bust for the Browns.
And then, but I don't think the Raiders are going to beat the Dolphins. I mean, it's going to be tough.
I was disappointed in them yesterday. I thought they would
Dolphins?
play a little. No, the Raiders. I thought they'd play a little bit better. I was a little disappointed.
No.
Saturday, I'm sorry, not yesterday.
They had a tailspin, man.
Yeah, they're in a tailspin.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs broke them.
Did you? You're doing your Drago impersonation.
No, because they were playing so well and they competed so hard in that Kansas City game, and then they went the next week and they looked like garbage, and it was like we just broke the Raiders.
I must break you.
Well, but the Raiders, the two best games the Raiders played this season were both games against Kansas City.
They win
that was their two best games.
If they win that second Kansas City game, I don't think they lose to who they even lose to the next. They got blown out by someone. I forget who. Indianapolis.
Well, their defense is a train wreck, and the only reason why they played well against Kansas City because Carr played excellent both games. He actually outplayed Mahomes, and their offense played very well.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been like I said. I was telling Emmanuel this. I said maybe the highlight for the Raiders this year is they beat the Browns. They held the Browns to 6 points.
There you go.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, I think your highlight is you're the only AFC West team to beat Kansas City in the last 4 years. So.
Yeah, well,
that's
Kansas City they could be 15-1. They could be very easily 15-1.
That's it. That's it. They put the 1 in 15-1.
The last big test was last night. So.
You would think. Yeah. You would think.
I never overlook division opponents.
Oh, no. No. And you got 2 of them coming up. No, I'm sorry. You already played Denver.
Falcons, Chargers.
You got Falcons and Chargers. So, yeah, you're in good shape.
I'm good.
Yeah, especially the way the Falcons. Yeah. What is it about the ATL blowing a lead against Tom Brady? I don't understand this.
Matt Ryan, he was just like, you saw his face.
I'm just like, how the heck is this happening again? They're just like, oh, God. This guy needs to leave as soon as possible.
And then all of a sudden, Tom Brady threw maybe the best pass of his season with an 80-yard.
It might have been the best pass of his career.
55. No, it wasn't that. But that 55-yard pass into the bucket to Antonio Brown, it was like, if he does that consistently, everyone in the NFC is screwed.
Yeah, it's just that was unbelievable.
The back shoulder throw to Gronk was on point. It was like all of a sudden, you know what it is? I think the first half, Bruce Arians wants to have the reins. And then the second half, Tom Brady's like, guys, we got to do what I want to do, not what over here Bruce wants to do. Because Bruce, the play calling and everything changes in that after halftime.
That's oil and water right there. And then both of them are classy enough not to have the dirty laundry being aired, but that's oil and water over there this year.
And then Bruce.
Do you see who scored the winning touchdown for the? Do you see who scored the winning touchdown for them?
Right.
Tampa Bay. Antonio Brown.
Yep.
Imagine this.
He's back, and Josh Gordon is going to be back soon, too.
This is for Steelers fans. Imagine this, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt last night.
Yes.
So imagine this. AFC Championship game, you're going up against maybe Le'Veon Bell being the feature back in Kansas City. Don't know if Clyde will be back or if they'll pick up someone else, but there's a possibility that he'll be the feature back for Kansas City when you play them. If Steelers beat them and they go play Tampa Bay with Antonio Brown, they would beat 2 of their demons that really sidelined their franchise for a little bit if they went back-to-back against Kansas City and Tampa Bay.
Let me ask you, because there's a guy that's out there that's a veteran that recently retired, or at least I think he retired, Shady McCoy. Do you give him
We gave him a chance last year.
Yeah.
And he kind of checked out after week 10. He wasn't even hurt. He just stopped playing.
Okay.
So I don't think Andy Reid.
I mean, he's out there, and he's,
I don't think Andy Reid wants to touch that again.
Yeah. Well, Le'Veon Bell's lost a step. He's not the Le'Veon Bell.
But he's starting to. I mean, last night was probably his best game. He's starting to kind of get used to the blockers, know where they're going. I think he had 65 yards on 9 carries, which is pretty good for him.
It's solid. Solid.
But he got hurt a little bit at the end of the game too. So.
If I'm the Steelers, why wouldn't you give Marshawn Lynch a call?
Beast mode. That fits.
Yeah, that would fit great in a Steeler uniform. Don't give him any ideas, champ. All right.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about that because I think the guy could still play.
I agree with you. But like I said, don't give him any ideas. Honestly, I'd love to see him in a Bills uniform. I mean, he's already been in a Bills uniform, but I'd love to see him in a Bills uniform again because Singletary and Moss, they're too inconsistent, and I'd just as soon rather have a bell cow back there to put the exclamation point on what I think is one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the Steelers, the real Steelers today. I think they're going this is a good game for them to get out and get their mojo back tonight. I think they will.
35-3. Just truck them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, leave no doubt. I mean, it's just win the division because you have the ability to. And again, if you, the reason why they win the division is they could lose the final 2 games, but if they beat the Bengals 5-1 divisional record, and you split with the Browns, but you have a better divisional record, and again, it all goes back to Cleveland losing to Baltimore the second time around. Not that it would have meant anything because they already lost to Pittsburgh once too, but 5-1 in your division. That's why divisional games are so important.
Then this last game would have been a lot more important between the Steelers and Browns if the Browns would have beaten the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's when you go 5-1 in the division, you pretty much have the tiebreakers over everybody in your division. So.
Well, the Browns are hopefully in the street. To put it in perspective how long it's been since the Browns have been in the playoffs. In 2002, that season, the MVP was Rich Gannon, and the Raiders lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay, and John Gruden was the coach.
Yeah, it was 2002. They played January 2003.
Oh, okay. So it was technically.
Yeah, it was 2002 season.
Technically, it was 2002. Butch Davis was the head coach.
I don't like bringing up Rich Gannon. I don't. That's a haunting memory for Chiefs fans.
Really? You know what?
Don't do
it. He's a good friend of mine. I think I'm going to get him on the show.
If you start doing that, I'll start bringing up Marcus Allen.
Wow. Okay. Now punches are being thrown here. Mills Lane here has to step in between. Nah. You two just go back to your corners right now here. Let's get it on.
But Marcus Allen and Rich Gannon have something in common. They both played in the Super Bowl for the Raiders.
Wow. Okay.
They were both thrown away like garbage by one team and picked up by the other.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't get me started. Anyways, I didn't know you loved Rich Gannon that much. I'm going to send you an autograph picture of him.
I like him. I just don't like that Marty Schottenheimer wouldn't play him in the playoffs because he thought Elvis Grbac came back from injury and said, "Oh, he had this unwritten rule that people never lose their spot." So I was mad that Rich Gannon got us to the playoffs and then he didn't play him in the playoffs.
Did he go to Elvis Grbac and say there's a gleam? No.
Yeah, the gleam. I watched that Browns highlight again about the gleam.
Yeah. The gleam of the trophy. That was I found out later in life that whole there's a gleam, fellas. Everyone's like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, the gleam was the Super Bowl trophy gleam. And then years later I find out about that. And I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Because when he said it, I was like, what the hell kind of acid did this guy take? What is this?
Marty did a lot of good things, but playoffs were not.
Playoffs were not good. One would argue until Kansas City won their Super Bowl last year, Andy Reid was the modern version of Marty Schottenheimer.
Right.
Yeah.
At least
I thought he was maybe advertising the Ultra Bright toothpaste.
Yeah, there you go. Well played, sir. And showing your 1970s reference. Well played. I gotta ask you before we unceremoniously dump you. What is your thought on Notre Dame crapping on themselves yet again?
Well, it was obviously an ugly game, but you know what? I think this is more about how really good Clemson is now. I mean, I think that they took that Notre Dame defense and did something I haven't seen done before. But it's obvious this quarterback is a stud. It's obvious the defensive players that came back were a major difference because, and once again, the one thing that Notre Dame, when they get blown out by a good team, the one thing that always happens is they had 44 yards rushing, 47 yards rushing, 60 yards rushing. All the games they got blown out had one thing in common. They can't get 100 yards rushing in the game. That's why they were averaging 240 yards rushing a game, and they got 44 in this game. That says a lot about the Clemson defense. I think they're better than Alabama, in my opinion. And I'm sick and tired of playing Clemson. I'm glad that we're not playing them again, although Alabama's going to be tough,
too.
Well,
here's the message that I got. The offensive line played a horrible game, and I'm not going to go into they're overrated because they're hurt. But part of me is thinking, okay, they got their crappy game out of the way. Okay, they got to play Alabama, and it's next to impossible to beat Alabama, but it's 2020 and anything can happen. Do they come up with their A game? Because if they play their A game, they can play with anybody in this country. It's just they haven't come up with their A game since 1988.
You know what else is A? A for Alabama.
Yeah, it's a roll tide kind of a thing.
Clemson is loaded, and this quarterback, wow. I mean, it was obvious that the difference between the second string guy, but he's big. He throws the ball quick. He makes decisions. And now the New York Jets screwed up because they won a game now and they don't have the first round pick anymore.
The weird thing is, I don't think that was Trevor Lawrence's best game of his career by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And he still looked really, really good.
Yeah, that was scary good what he did to Notre Dame.
It was.
When you're not playing well to your standards and you still look very, very good, then that's something.
Yeah, that's I pity Ohio State because
not anymore because after what Clemson did.
Well, listen, Dabo Swinney's now turned into the biggest asshole in the history of college football over the last 4 years.
You know that's going to be public what you vote. I don't understand why. And
the fact of they don't belong in the playoffs because they only played 6 games. I mean, dude, you really want to say all this stuff? I mean, you're really tempting the football god small g here. Not to mention the fact, and again, this has nothing to do with the cheap shot that he said on Saturday. Look, whatever. He's talking about how Clemson has been really, really good since 1989. Oh, really? You gotta go the year after Notre Dame won their national championship. Now you're going to compare your program to Notre Dame's, but you conveniently put since 1989, knowing that Notre Dame won their national title in 1988. Now, forget about that. Over the last 4 years,
Clemson was garbage until he got there, by the way.
Dabo Swinney has turned into the biggest pain in the ass I have ever seen in my life. It's like the guy's now entitled, and now he has this different attitude where I'm no longer the lovable guy. Now I'm going to be wearing the black hat, and I'm going to be the most hated person in the world, and I'm going to say ridiculously stupid things just to get under everyone's skin. And I normally don't root for Ohio State. I hope Ohio State beats the ever-living hell out of Clemson and runs up the score on Clemson just to shut this douchebag's mouth.
He mad. He just slammed his pencil. He mad.
I think with 2 weeks for Ohio State to prepare, because they're still in mid-season form, because of the number of games, but I think you give them 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I think this game will be a lot closer than people think, and I even think Notre Dame will play a lot better than people think, because all we're going to hear is Clemson, Alabama for 2 weeks, and when that happens, you tend to think the underdogs are going to play a lot better, and I do believe Ohio State will give them a game.
Honestly, I hope. I hope I hear for the next 2 weeks, boy, Notre Dame looking just like Notre Dame in the postseason. I hope I hear this every single minute on every hour on the hour. I want to hear it.
You want me to say it?
Well, absolutely.
Right, Notre Dame just like they always do in the
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And by the way, which bowl game is Georgia Tech in? I couldn't find
him. He wanted me to say it.
No. He's good. I wanted him to say it. I'm really looking forward to this game. Maybe I have a sadistic sense of humor, but I think Notre Dame will be pissed off enough to play a decent game against Alabama.
Watch it, champ. Our recent national championship is more recent than Notre Dame. So
wow,
just watch it.
That is true.
Just watch it.
But Notre Dame being in this game, it's going to help recruiting. They're going to be on the national stage, so they got there. They're in there. They're the fourth team. They may get beat, but at least they got in, and they're going to show up. And you just never know. I mean, they're probably not going to win, but they're there, and it's going to help recruiting. That's the bottom line.
By the way, I figured out, and this is how sick I am in terms of the money aspect of this. Alabama is a 19.5-point favorite against Notre Dame right now. That's where the odds started. The Clemson Ohio State game started at 7. It's now 7.5. I did some figuring on a $50 bet on Notre Dame and Ohio State would pocket you over $1,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
You gonna do it?
On a money line bet. That means that Notre Dame and Ohio State have to win the game, otherwise you're out $50.
You gonna do it?
Hell no, I'm not going to do
it.
Hell no, I'm not going to do that.
That's not a lot of risk for the reward you get.
I mean, that's a lot of risk because I don't think that either team is going to win.
50 isn't a lot, though.
If somebody gives me $50 for Christmas, maybe I will do that. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you're not going to get 50 from our boss because Tampa Bay needs one win.
Well,
by the way,
yeah, trust me, I'm going to be owing him $50, and I should have never jumped on that. That was just, oh God, stupid. All right,
guys. Well, good talking to you, and like I said, it'll be fun. It's always fun when you're in the Final Four, and even though it may not end up good, at least we got there, and it was a good season for the Irish. Their one and only year in the ACC turned out pretty good. So
yeah, wasn't bad. All right, sir.
All right, take care, gentlemen.
See ya. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business. When we say take a time out. Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown, sponsoring Running Point. I'm wondering if they're fans of Dabo Sweeney. If they are, oh boy. Hopefully nobody's a fan of Dabo Sweeney at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Yeah, because we're not a fan of his.
We're going to see some guys in suits come and just take these mugs.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't take my Yeti away. Man, this thing is cool. Literally, cool. It's cold. Yeah, literally. I haven't put anything hot in this yet, but yeah, this is man. These things are really, really nice. Yeti that Greenwood Chevrolet. Let's see if we can put that. There we go. Greenwood Chevrolet, and it's a Yeti, not to be confused with
the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, thank you. Not to be confused with. Yukon Cornelius, not to be confused with Hermie, not to be confused with Rudolph. You get the picture. 330-886-0813. Yeah, almost went bad number on us. 0813, the last four digits. We're back in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
With Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Ruud gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Ruud, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you, alongside Anthony Hardwig. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813.
Want to give a shout out to a comment from social media from John McGeary, who is tuning in. He says, "Hello, Ron. I am a huge Josh Allen supporter. Hope you have a very Merry Christmas." So you got someone listening that, you know, relates to your Josh Allen infatuation.
I think a lot of, well, I'm not infatuated with him because I've dogged him for the first 2 years of his NFL.
You've been pretty giddy the last couple of weeks about
because he's becoming a franchise quarterback.
So now you are infatuated with him.
I'm not infatuated. He's a franchise quarterback now. You know,
he's not a franchise quarterback till he wins playoff games.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up because I want your definition.
Because
for me, it's kind of twofold, and one goes hand in hand with the other. Not necessarily hand in hand, but one goes hand in hand in terms of getting there. For me, a franchise quarterback is you have to win your division. A divisional winning quarterback, that leads you to the playoffs. But to your point, I agree with you. You have to have a playoff win. So right now, he's halfway there. He won his division. And now he's going to hopefully get a playoff win.
To your point, you win the division, get in the playoffs. So with that criteria, Alex Smith was a franchise quarterback for Kansas City.
That's why you have to have both.
But was he, though?
No.
It's like because he kept losing in the divisional round. He won one playoff game while he was at Kansas City.
Well, then if he won one playoff game, then he became a franchise quarterback.
He won one playoff game, and he was there and he got them there a lot.
Yeah.
But obviously they didn't feel that way because they went and drafted Patrick Mahomes. So it's one of those things. It's like I don't think there's a line that says, you know, you're a franchise quarterback if you're consistently taking your team to their expectations.
This will be the second time in 3 years that the Bills make the playoffs.
Right.
So that's a good start too, but you got to win a game for me. You got to win a game to be considered a franchise quarterback. Let's go to Emmanuel. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. What's going on, Emmanuel?
Well, Merry Christmas, my brothers.
Merry Christmas.
You know, I was sitting there listening to you guys, and I heard you guys talk about fixings, right?
Oh, yeah, the fixings.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go in the kitchen to make some vittles. You know,
you're fixing to make some vittles. Are you fixing to go swimming down in the cement pond here pretty soon?
Yeah, I'm putting me a head of cabbage and some potatoes and some carrots and some neck bones and make me up some victuals.
There you go. Those are some tasty victuals. I'm going to tell you what. That's not bad.
I'm going to tell you what.
I'll tell you what. Those are some tasty victuals down there.
I love the people that just say, "I'll tell you what," and then that's the end of the sentence.
Well, yeah.
What? I just told you.
Yeah, there you go. That is a staple down south. You'll get into a conversation with someone who's born and bred in the South, and they'll go, I'll tell you what, and then that's it. And you're like,
just told you.
I'm like, what the hell was that? And then you're like, oh, he did tell me what. Okay, there you go. And then if you say something really stupid, or they think you are kind of a couple screws loose in your head, they don't call you out and say, boy, are you an idiot, or something like that. They have a great way of backhanded complimenting you by saying, bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart. And that's not a good thing when someone from the South says that. I found that out.
Well,
you probably had that said a lot to you, didn't you?
I heard that a lot. I heard that in Yankee an awful lot. Finally, honest to God, it was about the 90th time someone called me a Yankee, and I looked him dead in the eye and said, I am not a follower of the Yankees. I'm a fan of the Indians. And they kind of looked at me, well, funny. And I said, yeah, you have a good day. Yeah, y'all have a good day.
Think about this. When they say bless your heart, if they back it up with Po Baby, you in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
But Anthony, I have to agree with you about a comment that you said about the basketball game that you called and you watched. And I will say this, and I've been saying this for years. The best basketball game I have ever seen was a women's game. And it was back in the day, man, I can't believe I just said that. But when Connecticut was just now starting, to be on the map with women's college basketball, and they were trying to rustle it away from Tennessee. And that's the best game. No talking or nothing, but as far as fundamentally, and playing the game of basketball, that's the best basketball game I've ever seen.
Yeah, back in the day when it was Gino versus Pat, and that was a rivalry of the century. And, man, those games were fun between UConn and Tennessee when those two were running those two programs.
And both of those coaches could have easily been very successful men's basketball coaches. Pat Summitt, oh, God, she is so revered in that state. And I was blessed to have lived in that state the tail end of Coach Summitt's career. She is so revered in that state, it's crazy.
Well, and another thing, too, I had to wait to call because I hate calling. Hate's a strong word, but I don't like calling when I kind of really disagree with someone. And maybe I'm the only person left. And when you say that, I guess that's a sign I'm having a problem. But I'm loving. This goes against everything that is holy. But I am loving not having all these fans in the stands. I'm actually watching football, and I'm learning. I'm learning and things, and I'm being more convinced. Like you hear the quarterback, and now you're finding out who can play quarterback and who can't. Some of these guys come up there, they call out the number, they know what the play is, or I got him. You hear the defense talking, and the terminology. And they're actually playing football now. They're not performing. They're not performers anymore. They're athletes.
I see that, yeah.
No, I agree with that.
What do you think about that?
No, I agree with that. Now, unfortunately, as a Bills fan, and I'll speak up for my brothers and sisters on the other side of the lake, I think both franchises would have loved to have been a part of what is turning out to be a pretty cool season on either side of Lake Erie right now. But beggars can't be choosers.
You're still a part. I mean, you're still a part of it. You're just not at the game physically. I mean, you're still experiencing it and all the euphoria that comes along with.
Yeah, but you can't tailgate up to neither place. I mean,
but you can tailgate in your driveway and have the same experience. I mean,
yeah, that's true. But
you just have to get a little bit creative. But I see what Emmanuel's saying, and you see a lot more. I think I'm seeing a lot more enjoyment from the players and a lot more we're just playing football. And not more that we're trying to put on a show. And I kind of like that. I think it's kind of refreshing in all the leagues to see them just go back to the roots of the sport and what drove them to be as good as where they are. Because every player on that field started off playing Pee Wee football in front of nobody.
And now they're playing in front of nobody.
Just for the love of football. And they're kind of getting back to that just love of the game. And when I see that, it's kind of one of those things that makes me kind of nostalgic a little bit about sports.
Well, Tony, I couldn't have said that better. I mean, game, set, match. And Ron, I'm going to tell you what he said. Now, as far as helping you and hearing it every day, well, I'm going to start it. The last time I heard you talk about, I want to hear what's going to happen to Notre Dame, I want this. They was playing Ohio State, and you see what happened. Y'all going to get boat rushed, man. And listen, let me give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I'm not saying that Notre Dame, right, Notre Dame should not be one of the top 4 teams. But I think it's an almost blankly blank shame that a team get beat like that one week and 2 days later they're in anybody's playoffs. They looked at horrible, man. They got go ahead.
You're right. No, you're right. Now, unfortunately, I think a lot of people want to make the mistake of looking at the current event and not looking through the body of the year. And the body of the year includes an even worse output by Texas A&M against Alabama.
That's why I just don't like that, because I'd rather see who are the best teams right now playing right now.
Anthony, excuse me, give me 5 seconds. Anthony, let me ask you a question. Anthony, do you want to see Texas A&M coming in at number 4 and playing Alabama? Is that what you want?
The way they played against the
that's the only other options.
Yeah, I'd rather see Texas A&M get a second shot at Alabama than to watch Notre Dame do it. It's just, as a fan, I think it would be a better game. I think Alabama's going to kind of, and I think beating a team twice in a season is hard, and I think it would be much more competitive than the first one. I think Texas A&M's, you look at them the last five weeks on film, they look legit. They're playing really well. And yeah, I think as a fan of neither team, I would rather see, and plus, I'd just rather see a new team in there, a team that, you're not used to seeing in there all the time. Notre Dame's always in the conversation. Ohio State's always in the conversation. It's always Alabama. It's always Clemson. To see kind of a new fan base and a new kind of program.
Yeah, but you can blame the committee for that, because the committee's hell-bent on putting blue bloods in there and they have no respect whatsoever for the little guy or teams that are in a conference but are in fact little guys.
Right. And I as a fan of neither team, I would enjoy that a little bit more, in my opinion.
And I hope Cincinnati beats the living hell out of Georgia.
Me too.
Just so everyone can find out that Cincinnati might have been the best college football team in the state of Ohio this year.
Maybe. But then if Georgia kind of runs them through, then it's going to be like,
well, of course. I mean, but that's why I wanted Cincinnati at least in the New Year's Six, and they get into the New Year's Six. And now if they can boat race Georgia, which they probably won't, but even if they can beat Georgia, that would tell me all I need to know about whether or not this team is ready to compete on that level.
And they better do it next year.
Well, even if they do, they're not going to get into the top.
And another thing, too, right? Nobody wanted to see Clemson and Notre Dame, 2 weeks after they played. But I want to make for the national champion. So everything lined up perfectly, for Notre Dame. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, but I am saying it's a shame. And then and if you look at the body of work, if you look at not only did Clemson didn't have a starting quarterback, they had a linebacker that's a maniac, right? That didn't play in that game.
You're right. So it's not like Notre Dame was completely healthy in that game. Notre Dame was missing some kids in that game too, which people conveniently leave out. Let me throw another thing, and I've been all over.
The difference is when Clemson was missing some people, it still took overtime.
Absolutely.
And when
you're right, and mainly because the freshman quarterback played out of his mind in that game, which they stopped
Brian Driscoll already kind of dampened that, because he said he had a couple of good plays that got him all the yards, but mainly he didn't. He played a pretty pedestrian game.
Well, look. They made a really good effort to stop Etienne and said, we'll sacrifice this guy going bonkers. We'll stop Etienne. You can't do that when Lawrence is in the lineup. And you saw why Lawrence is so important. And then you saw why Etienne was able to go off for what he did. But I will say this, and I normally don't say this because normally in normal circumstances, the SEC is head and shoulders, knees and toes above every Power 5 conference.
I think it's still
the
is.
SEC sucked this year.
And it's still head and shoulders above.
It's not head and shoulders above.
I would take Georgia, who is maybe the fourth best.
They got
team.
4 teams in the SEC this year.
Right.
You got Alabama, A&M, Florida, and Georgia.
And I would take Georgia over the 4th team in every other conference.
Oh, you would take Georgia over Indiana?
Indiana's not the 4th team. Indiana's the 2nd, and that's how god awful the Big Ten is.
So you would take Georgia over Northwestern?
Northwestern's the 3rd team. You're going to have to go down
and
Iowa.
You would take them over.
I would take them
over Iowa. They'd kill Iowa.
And it wouldn't even be
Forget
close.
the record. I'm talking about Wisconsin.
It wouldn't even be close if Wisconsin or Iowa played Georgia.
But let me throw the 4
all
teams.
I have to say is this.
Or ACC.
No, actually, I'm going to disagree with that because let me throw the 4 teams.
Virginia Tech?
Clemson,
Notre Dame. Oh, okay, you're counting Notre Dame.
North Carolina, and the U.
The U? Okay.
The U's not a bad team.
The U. I think Georgia beats the U by 14.
The U's not a bad team this year.
You guys let something out. There's enough.
Florida beats North Carolina up.
I'll give you that.
Guaranteed.
North Carolina turned
so
out
I still think
toward
the
the end of
SEC
the year.
is up and above.
Not completely above, but the ACC actually conducted themselves as the 2nd best conference this year.
Yeah, but they also played them and the SEC were the 2 conferences that said we're going to do it. In the Big 12 too.
That's true.
Forget about the Big 12.
The Pac-12 is just utter garbage.
Okay, this is the final thing, guys. This is the final thing. Okay, not only is Ohio State do they have the best team in the Big Ten, they also have the 2nd best team in the Big Ten. We had 22 players missing. Our 2nd team won the doggone tournament, man. So listen, you guys have a great Christmas, and I'm gonna talk to you again, and a Happy New Year, man. And Anthony, my brother, you on fire today, man. You on fire. You on fire. Later, man.
I got to put some water on him. Yeah, he's on fire right now. Thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate it. 330-886-0813.
You know how bad it hurts me to uplift Georgia, but to say that they're not better than
I'm not saying they're not better, but they're not head and shoulders, knees and toes above the ACC this year. Maybe head and shoulders, but I ain't giving you the knees and toes. That ain't happening. But I mean, the Big Ten was garbage, straight garbage this year, because you have Ohio State, Indiana, and Northwestern.
Right.
Where's Michigan and Penn State? Oh, wait a second.
And I don't want to overlook Indiana because they only lost to Ohio State by 7. And I think Indiana would probably play a pretty good game against Georgia.
And interestingly enough, as we go into the bowl season, know your bowls. Indiana will be playing one of the SEC teams.
Right, they have a chance to
in the bowl, and I always like seeing where the Big Ten is in terms of every year they play at minimum 3 bowl games against the SEC. Minimum 3, I'd normally say. Indiana is playing Ole Miss in the Outback Bowl.
Really?
One would think Indiana should boat race this team because Ole Miss was garbage. They weren't very good this year. Neither was Mississippi State. Neither was Auburn. Neither was LSU. And by the way,
Indiana has to consider that as a slap in the face.
Well, you would think.
Oh, we're going to play.
You would think. Iowa is going to play Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl, which that's kind of laughable. A&M is going to play North Carolina in the Orange Bowl. That could be a fun game. We'll see how good they are.
Didn't Indiana finish ahead of Iowa in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
So how does Iowa get into a Fiesta Bowl and then Indiana gets in the Outback?
Your guess is as good as me.
How does that work?
I know. The Big Ten, if there is a reason for the Big Ten to blow out the SEC this year.
And Northwestern's in the Rose Bowl, right?
No, they're in the Citrus Bowl against Auburn. Are you kidding me? If the Big Ten doesn't boat race the SEC this year, there's something seriously wrong.
Auburn, Bo Nix is still a...
Iowa's playing Missouri in the Music City Bowl. Again, this should be 3 comfortable victories for the Big Ten over the SEC.
Maybe.
Should be. But
then you always have to go into is the chunk of the SEC better than the chunk of the Big Ten?
And normally it isn't.
And I don't like to judge a conference based on bowl season because half the teams don't even want to play in the bowl, and they're kind of checked out, and that's why I'd much rather see these conferences play each other in the regular season.
Now, little tidbit on why I knew Notre Dame was going to be in the national semifinals. When Brian Kelly flat out said to the Rose Bowl, you either invite the parents of the teams or of the players, or we might not show up. And all of a sudden, the Rose Bowl loses their national semifinal game, and it's now a Jerry's joint where 15,000 people will watch the game in that 100,000 seat or 90,000 seat stadium. And it's not going to be called the Rose Bowl, obviously, because that's sacrilegious. But to say that, and I don't think it was just Notre Dame. I think Dabo Jackass also said the same thing as well. So when you have 2 of the 4 participants saying, yeah, we're not interested in going to Pasadena,
can you imagine that, like, they're going to say that to the Rose Bowl?
And they got away with it, obviously.
Obviously, but that's some stone.
I mean, and everyone sat back and basically said, well, who are you to sit back and say the Rose Bowl is going to lose? No, actually, they just got the Rose Bowl screwed out of a national semifinal game.
It's a funny world we live in.
Yeah, now you can thank the California governor for this, for his ruling of saying that no fans are allowed, and whether you want to agree with that or not, that's
now the Rose Bowl is still being played. It's just 2 different teams, right?
I don't even think the Rose Bowl's being played, to be honest with you. I think that college football just said with the Rose Bowl. They just said, we're not going to put anybody into the, can you imagine nobody in a 100,000+ seat stadium in Pasadena? I think college football looked at this and said, no, not interested.
They're still going to have the Parade of the Roses?
Oh.
Parade of Champions?
No, that got canceled pretty immediate. They canceled that bad boy a long time ago. This is just such a weird year, and yet, and I've said this, I don't want to talk about 2020. I mean, it's when this when this calendar year is over, I don't want to ever hear about 2020. And yet,
joke's on you. We're gonna wake up and it's gonna be December 32nd.
Hold on a second. After further review, the month of December will have an extra day. It'll be 32 days in the month of December. We will not have 2021. That's first down. Roll Tide. Okay. Yeah. I was saying, I don't ever want to utter 2020, and yet here are my 2 favorite teams in the fall. Granted, Notre Dame chances of winning a national championship about as good as me dating Jennifer Garner. It ain't going to happen. But the Buffalo Bills have a legitimate, I mean, they're starting to look like a legitimate football team. Part of me doesn't ever want to talk about 2020 ever again, but damn, if one of my teams happens to win a championship, I'm going to be forced to talk about that championship year. I mean, to throw it to you, I mean, okay, naturally, Chiefs have already won their Super Bowl, so it would just be, back-to-back. But let's say that the Royals had an unbelievable year and were competing for a World Series title. Would you have felt the same way where you're like, God, I want 2020 to be gone with, so I don't have to ever talk about this again, but damn it, if the Royals win a World Series,
it's always going to be talked about.
I got to be talking about this because it's such a great year.
You just put World Series champions and you drop the year off it, and everyone just forgets what year it was.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the year, but we're going to talk about the season.
Right.
Now, that's not a bad call. And
you get to win the championship if you did it in 2021. So you can just say
that's true.
You can just say we're 2021 champions.
That's true. There's a caveat to that.
Clemson won it last year, right?
No, LSU won it last year.
Right.
Yeah, dang. LSU won it.
How quickly we forget about Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So leave LSU. They can claim 2020 and then have.
I don't think they want to just say the 2019 college football champions.
Can you imagine the year for them? Like 2020, they win a championship and then they suck so bad. And then they knocked Florida out of the playoffs.
Let me ask because because he's local. Does Bo Pelini survive?
Yes, because there were so many. I don't think that was Bo Pelini's fault.
See, I don't think it was either. And a lot of people.
I know that there was definitely frustration with him. I mean, you could see it on the sidelines.
Oh God, yeah.
You could see Coach O chewing him out like it was his business.
Sure.
But I don't think they let him go. I don't think you let. I don't think any jobs in college football should be decided other than the obvious ones based on just 2020. If you just had a bad 2020 and you're usually
I would hope not.
Other than Michigan, because Michigan's it's been a and they better get Fickle in there.
Well, I mean, if they were smart,
if you're a Michigan fan,
I'd back the Brinks truck up and go, "Hey, Luke, come on."
And then
hold on a second,
Luke. Go join the dark side and go to Michigan.
Blasphemy. Michigan, ask Jim Trussell about Fickle, his advice. Be like, hey, what do you think? Can Fickle be a good... Can you imagine if they did that?
Well, better yet.
They call
I know Coach Trussell is now President Trussell.
They call up Trussell and they're like, hey, what do you think about that Fickle guy? Do you think he can make a good coach for us? And then,
well, here's the thing.
I know what you're thinking. Don't think that.
But here's the thing. Three times over with Michigan and Ohio State, because Coach Trussell. I don't think he's ever going to coach again. But you never know. And it would be a horrible loss to Youngstown State because YSU is YSU, and he's done such a great job in terms of running the university. But I mean, let's be honest, it's freaking Michigan. And you get an opportunity to, coach against Ohio State. I mean, but let's put Trussell aside for a second and hope and pray that he stays at Youngstown State because he's doing such a great job at Youngstown State. Urban Meyer. Why not? Hell, why not? The way he was escorted out of Columbus, don't tell me for a second that Urban Meyer resigned because he had health concerns. Okay, he might have had health concerns. I'm going to guarantee you people something right here, right now. That 3-game suspension that Urban Meyer said, that was the moment Urban Meyer said to Ohio State University, and he wants to get back into college football. I'm not saying Urban Meyer wouldn't take the Michigan job, but boy, would it sure look tasty if Urban Meyer took the Michigan job. I don't think he will, but it sure would look tasty with a bit of jalapeno peppers on it. It would look tasty.
But Fickle
would be a great one, too, because, again, Fickle was the guy that fell on the sword after everything that went down, had the 6-6 year, and then they discarded him to hire the flavor of the month in Urban. So if I'm Fickle, I'm like, and his name is Luke, which fits perfectly into the Star Wars kind of thing, Michigan being the dark side, and Luke being seduced by the dark side. And you can hear James Earl Jones go, Luke, we need you. We need you to join the dark side. And then he dons that block M. Oh, God. I would pay money. Normally, I don't pay to go into football games.
You don't pay money for anything.
I do pay money for some things, but
put 50 on Clemson and Notre Dame.
I don't want to lose my money.
Oh,
I don't want to lose 50. That's a bad bet. The payoff is ridiculous. Again, and I think it was more like $1,200 or $1,300. I'd have to do the arithmetic again, but it's well over $1,000 for those that are just tuning in. Alabama's a 19.5-point favorite against Notre Dame. Clemson's a 7.5-point favorite against Ohio State. And my thing was, what happens if you put $50 on a parlay money line bet where you pick the two underdogs, Notre Dame and Ohio State, and you have to have both of these teams win in order to cash out? It pays a little over $1,200, close to $1,300, if I'm not mistaken. So a $50 bet is giving you a ridiculous amount of money. It's just, there's a reason why that $50 bet is giving you a ridiculous amount of money, because it's kind of next to impossible. That's why I wouldn't do it.
But you'd only be $50 down if you don't.
Well, I'm already $50 down. I mean, that's why I don't want another $50 down on my $50.
You're one win away. I mean, he's.
Well, no, look. I mean, again, the chances of Tampa Bay losing out. I got a better chance of dating Jennifer Garner, for Christ's sake.
You got a better chance of winning that money for Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Well, that too. That's why, again, I don't want to double down on stupidity. That's just craziness. That's just lunacy right there. But then again, it's a lot of money. Just throwing that out there. But look, we'll see what happens. We got very limited basketball because, well, Thursday and Friday nobody's going to play basketball. It's Saturday.
But we have a lot to build up for because the week after Christmas we have Monday and Tuesday all-day Christmas tournament at South Range, and there's a lot of good teams there. Hoban's coming back.
That's going to be a blast.
I'll be there all day. So Monday you'll be alone because I'll be calling games at South Range. But
can we get you to call in and provide some updates?
I'll have to look at the schedule to see. I think there's a gap. I think there's a 12 o'clock game and then the next game is 3. So there might be like a 2 o'clock gap where I can.
Well, it's got to be the typical game only takes like an hour and change to play.
Right.
Hence the reason why JV games start at 5:30, varsity games start at 7.
They're having JV too. They're playing in the South Range Middle School. So
there you go.
All the JV programs.
Playing. Now give me the teams here that are going to be involved in the tournament, because this isn't the only holiday tournament going on. There's going to be other holiday tournaments, and thank God we still have those tournaments. I know that the big one in the state, which is to the south of us, where is that? Berlin Highland normally has just a ridiculous Christmas holiday tournament, and year in year out that fills their barn. Literally, it's a basketball barn down there, but it's a great place to watch again.
The boys' holiday tournament at Salem.
Yes.
This week, and then next week will be the girls' holiday tournament at South Range.
Oh my God!
So here we go. Monday at 10 a.m. The first game of the day is Ursuline and Marlington. Awesome.
That's already, you got my attention, and that's the appetizer.
All right, 12
Holy
o'clock.
crap! Okay. Now you got my attention immediately, and that's just a friggin' appetizer. Okay, give me more.
12 o'clock. Western Reserve, Poland.
Oh, feed me more here. Jackie Grisdale against Danny? No. Feed me more.
5 o'clock. No, 3 o'clock after the 12 o'clock game. Hoban and Nordonia. So a Cleveland City team going up against a big Division I Hoban.
Okay, suburbs of Cleveland taking on the Akron Catholic Kings or Queens in this matter.
5 o'clock rounded out with South Range versus Boardman. That's your Monday.
You have my attention. You have my attention. Now, Boardman is struggling a little bit, but they're going to get better. They're going to get significantly better. You have my attention with this.
Tuesday, we're not done. Tuesday, 10 a.m.
Okay.
Ursuline versus Salem.
Okay. Salem plays lockdown defense. They have a solid team. Okay.
10 o'clock. Poland versus Western Reserve at 12. So I guess, are they playing twice? Did I say that wrong?
You already said that once.
I'm sorry. 12 o'clock on Monday, it's Western Reserve versus Salem. Western Reserve, Poland's on Tuesday.
Okay, Western Reserve versus Salem is a solid game too.
Right. So
because Salem has solid defense, as we've mentioned. Okay, that's.
So then at 3 o'clock, Boardman versus Hoban on Tuesday.
Okay, that could be.
And then rounded out with South Range versus Nordonia. So
I kind of thought that South Range would play the other suburban team that's really good
out of Cleveland.
Yeah. So Nordonia is to the south and east of Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe that Nordonia is over by Twinsburg, if I'm not mistaken.
It was gonna be Lutheran East, and they had to back out. So Nordonia was just like, whoop.
No, Lutheran East isn't a bad school either.
That's Cleveland too. So Cleveland for Cleveland.
You've got the one Cleveland suburb replacing the other one. You got a fixture, solid program in Akron Hoban, and you've got some pretty good, you got
Marlington coming in for
solid,
a day.
Yeah, pretty
Poland
solid.
coming in for a day. Western Reserve's there 2 days in a row. I mean, it's. What more can you ask
honestly,
for?
I'd like to see Western Reserve play South Range, but they're going to play each other earlier before this, aren't they?
No, they don't play each other.
They don't play each other.
I would love that matchup because they both have so many different ways to beat you.
Oh, my God. It would be an unbelievable matchup. Not to mention the fact, again, even though South Range is a 3, Western Reserve is, I don't want to step on any toes. They're the best Division 4 team not named McDonald, and they might be better than McDonald,
right
but
now,
we won't know.
We would just say they're the best Division 4 team playing.
Yeah.
Right now. Because McDonald's not playing yet. And we've only seen them once.
I'll go along with that. Now, United is what, a 3?
United's a 3.
United, God, this 3 is going to be.
They keep winning
good
close
Lord,
games.
they're going to be stacked.
Right.
Because Crestview's playing well, United's playing well, and South Range is playing incredibly well.
South Range is a 3, and that's just sad for.
Is Mooney a 3 or are they a 2?
I think Mooney is up in Division 2 with Poland, West Branch, Salem, those guys.
Then Ursuline is a 3 because one of the pro.
I think they flipped them. I think
the boys'
3.
parochial is Ursuline 2, Mooney 3. The girls Mooney 2, Ursuline 3.
I'll have to double check on that, but I think that's what it is this year. It always changes.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years ago, Dacian and Harris and Ursuline were at 2. They played Poland in the district championship. So, but I think this year, Ursuline's 3. Mooney's
regardless, 2. I mean, you're gonna have a pretty solid.
And Ursuline already put up a really good fight against South Range. So I mean, that's just one of the matchups that you might see in a district tournament.
Supersize me. Now the only thing is
Marlington. I'm excited for Ursuline versus Marlington because Marlington's a heck of a girls team.
Yeah.
They
beat West Branch.
They did beat West Branch.
So that you already have my attention because West Branch is a pretty solid team. Now they're starting to round into form, but again, Marlington beating them, that tells me a lot about the Dukes, or is this the Duchess?
I think it's still the Dukes.
Yeah, but you get the Duke and Duchess Columbiana humor.
Both the Western Reserves games, both of them are very intriguing. Salem and Poland.
Salem's a good basketball team.
And then I think it's not local, but Hoban versus Nordonia.
Woo!
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's
and
not
then of
bad.
course, the JVs will be playing at the same time over in the middle school gym right next to South Range. So.
And that's not bad. Now the middle school, because that's a K-12 building,
right?
So the middle school gym's right next door to the high school gym.
Door, yep. The locker rooms are literally connected.
Kind of the same thing with Leetonia, except the lockers aren't connected. It's the little further down the hall.
Right.
But the middle school gym is gorgeous. It just doesn't have a lot of seats. But that middle school gym at Leetonia is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I like the South Range middle school gym. It's got the one-side bleachers, a lot of seating.
That's what Leetonia has, the one-sided bleachers.
Instead of like a mural on the far wall, that's a smaller wall. They have the mural across the whole.
Yep.
Which is all awesome, So it's a nice. And I think the middle school gym has the old scoreboards from the old high school in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's not bad.
So, they kind of got the hand-me-downs.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that at all. All right. Do you happen to have the Salem Boys Holiday Tournament?
Not on me. I'm sure DJ has them out there.
We got to. What we'll do is we'll take a timeout because we got to get some holiday cheer, basketball version of holiday cheer, and then we're gonna play. Then we're gonna play the game of since the big boys come into town on Friday, Thursday night / Friday morning. That's why you have to go to bed early, kids, because the big boy's going to come and he's making a list. He's checking it twice, and he's going to find out if you're naughty or nice, and that's why Santa Claus, he's coming to town, so you better behave yourself.
By the way, that movie, childhood favorite.
Which one?
Santa Claus Coming to Town.
Oh, there you
go. With the Meister Burger.
That's not bad. And
the Ice Monster.
Let me ask you: is it better than the Peanuts version?
When we're talking about my childhood, I never really got into the Peanuts as a kid.
Oh, that's sacrilegious.
So I'm sorry so for me, when I'm thinking about my childhood, my memories are Year Without Santa Claus.
Okay, that's a good one.
And Santa Claus Coming to Town.
Okay.
And then the Frosty cartoon was always something I watched as a kid.
Frosty the Snowman or the
Frosty
new one?
the Snowman, the old, because I was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Rudolph, yes, not as much, but I watched it.
Okay.
I like the Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas special when I was a kid.
Okay, not bad.
I like that hula hoop song.
Yeah.
I think that one it makes my family crazy, but I love it. So,
almost as good as Dominic the Donkey.
We grew. My older brother, who had cerebral palsy as well, loved Alf. So we watched Alf almost every day when I was a kid.
Oh, you're going back to the 80s with that one. Okay.
The Alf Christmas special is still a family tradition.
There you go.
I love it. So
yeah.
So yeah, there's the Christmas kind of specials in TV and movies that kind of stick out to my childhood. And then some of the newer ones, Santa Claus is great with Tim Allen, and I like
that one's okay.
Especially the first one. They got kind of crazy after the sequels.
Yeah.
I like Elf, because it's funny and it's a good idea. I watched it this weekend. Jack Frost. It's not like a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place during Christmas. It's like the winter, but the father comes back after he dies as a snowman.
Yeah.
That's a solid.
Yeah. Polar Express.
Polar Express is dang good.
Yeah, that's a really really good one. That was a lot of fun watching that. Even though I was well up in age when that came out.
And then you get the really sad ones like the Christmas shoes and the ones that really eat.
Yeah, I can't watch those. No, it's just no.
No, Paul Munson loves The Christmas Story. I can't watch it to save my life. The Ralphie and
how can you not watch that?
It's so boring to me.
How can you not watch that?
Not a fan.
I mean, that's the epitome of childhood.
Not a fan.
Now, not to the point of peeking your head into a department store. I'm not that old, where everyone peeked their head and every department store. This was pre-mall. Had that feature window,
right?
And all the kids stuck their noses into the window and looking around. And I grew up in the era of JCPenney catalog, where the moment the JCPenney catalog came in the mail, you knew, baby. Okay, this is mine, because we're gonna and we literally had fights over the JCPenney catalog until Mom laid the smackdown and said, "Well, none of you are gonna get a damn thing unless you start acting like responsible people," and then that kind of puts everyone back in line.
The only reason I remember the JCPenney catalog is the only place that had like the what I loved as a kid were like the kid uniforms for the NFL.
Oh
teams.
Yeah.
And that was only the only catalog that had them.
Yeah, exactly.
So every year I just pick out a team and I get their like little kids uniform.
Yeah,
with the pants and the shirt.
Yeah, thigh pads and the shoulder pad.
The I still have like I think 14 or 15 of those plastic kid helmets.
Did you play football in one of those?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're worn. The stickers are.
Yeah.
You should see the Chiefs helmet. It's an old one, so it's got like the.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't even see the arrowhead anymore. It's worn out.
Craziness.
So.
No, the JCPenney catalog was was a must have.
Living room football in those helmets with the brothers. That's always a thing.
Oh yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Knocking heads.
Nothing wrong with
and
that.
Then you take the warning on the back that says this is not for contact use, and you just ignore that completely.
Yeah, come on, stop. You're using that as a weapon. Everyone knows it. Come on, seriously. But that is not the best gift I ever had. I got to throw down the best gift I ever had.
You gonna tease it, or are you gonna do it now?
No. We'll tease it.
Okay.
Best gift I ever had. It drove it didn't drive everyone in the house. It drove my mother crazy when she was home and we used this best gift that I ever got. Just a great time as a kid growing up. Well, we'll talk about that. 330-886-0813, back in a bit.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Okay, so we were talking about Christmas and Christmas gifts and whatnot. So I think it was, I want to say 10 or 11. Regardless, I was preteen.
Right.
And this was actually not under the tree. This was one of those moments where my mom, who did a masterful job hiding all of our gifts, because we lived in a pretty large house, and you find some pretty interesting places to put some gifts. She did a masterful job hiding our gifts for the longest time. She even forgot where this thing was, and then she was like, "Oh, wait a second, you didn't open up one of these gifts." Okay, so she runs and gets this thing, and she says, "Here." So I open it up. Now, you remember the Nerf basketball hoops?
Yeah, like
okay.
We got one right there.
Okay, well, and this one's the Cadillac version. Right. The normal version's the suction cups,
right?
And you hope and pray that they stay. Right. And the Cadillac version that hardly anyone ever had.
The one that goes over the door.
Was the one that goes over the door. Right. I got one of those. Went over the door. So I didn't have to worry about suction cups the whole 9 yards. This bad boy was going to stay where it was. So my best friend at the time, he and I would have ridiculous one-on-one in the family room. And the family room was just off from the kitchen. And the kitchen, typical 1970s kitchen, where you had the timer. The little kitchen timer thing where you used to have to push a knob and move it back about 8 minutes. We used to do 8-minute quarters, and we would literally play until the thing went off, and then the quarter was done. Okay, we take a little break, just like TV timeout. We're playing a friggin' NBA game, except it's 8-minute quarters, not 12-minute quarters, and we were getting after it. Nobody could slam the ball down because we weren't big enough yet, because the thing was pretty high. Ceilings were pretty high. So it wasn't exactly like you were going to have a ball go off the ceiling, because we were short enough to have, the ceiling was 9 feet high. It was typical ceiling. So 9 feet high, you're only like 4 foot and change, maybe 5 feet tall, who knows. The door is about 7 or 8 feet up there, and then you get the ceiling. So nobody could slam it down, at least for the first year or so. We're playing hellacious games of basketball. You're dribbling, and then you get to the point where you're fake dribbling and you're, doing stuff like this, and you're going to the hoop and you're trying to put up a shot. Nobody can goaltend, so you're trying to swat a shot and all this. Oh man, it was a great time. I had a blast with this thing. best thing my mom ever got me for Christmas as a kid growing up.
I'm
Hands
sure she
down,
hated it.
Send Home the Jury, and she freaking hated every second of it when we were playing because it was. I mean, we're, playing the defense, putting to the Barney Rubble feet going back and forth, and then the floorboard below is only getting a beating. The carpet's getting a beating. Oh, yeah, it was a great time. What a great time.
I had one of those, and I thought it was because I always hated the plastic rims because they'd give, and then you could,
Yeah.
you if you hit the rim with one of those balls, you were screwed.
Oh, yeah, because it was the rims just wobbled.
Right. So much wick, so much give. So I
Yeah.
had one that was a hard plastic backboard, clear with the metal rim.
Yeah, you get the Rolls
Yeah,
Royce.
and I was like, yes.
Yeah. And it hung over the door.
Right, it hung
yeah,
over
you
the
get the
door.
Rolls Royce version.
Right.
I only get the Cadillac version.
But then my basketball was I had the Fisher Price hoop, with
those were sweet.
and you shoot the ball that's like this big.
Yeah, but those were so much fun.
You get a little bit more of a feel if you're actually playing basketball.
Yeah.
I still have the one I had as a kid. It's still in our house, and it's got this. I'll never forget. My dad was feeding my brother because he had cerebral palsy, so he left for like a second. He had applesauce sitting on a spoon, and just terrible timing. Ball goes off the rim, hits the spoon. And
applesauce everywhere.
Flings the applesauce. Almost all of it goes on the backboard. We cleaned off, but there's like these crevices between couldn't get out. It's still there. It's still like this black spot.
Yeah.
And this like moldy, gross, decaying applesauce.
That's good.
Good times.
That's good. Best tabletop game ever, and I wish that I could find this game. Decision Football. Just a
Is that
obscure,
like the stat thing?
Oh, no. It wasn't Stratomatic. It was based on cards and whatnot. This was just based on a tabletop board game where it was more luck than anything else.
The electronic one. Where
No,
it's like vibrating.
but you had your set plays on offense. You had your set plays on defense, and you put your defensive alignment where it was supposed to be. Oh my God, it was such a great game. I can't find it for the life of me anywhere.
We played the magnetic football a lot with the it had the metal train. It would vibrate your players.
No, electric football.
Yeah, we played that a lot.
Electric football was cool.
And then when we were kids, we played Risk a lot.
Risk was
we
good.
Loved Risk.
Yeah.
It took forever just to set up.
Stratego was a good game.
Let's see. Battleship we played a lot. That got bad because we would lose the pieces.
Tic-tac-toe with the beans, with the bean bag and your toss across.
Oh, okay.
Was the tic-tac-toe game. That was a lot of fun. Of course, I came from the era of lawn darts too. So lawn darts was cool until
baloney on the wall. Baloney sticks. And we would have like a tape target.
Oh, God.
And we'd throw baloney.
You did not.
We did.
So that's sacrilegious in our home.
We'd eat it.
No.
The walls aren't dirty.
No.
So we'd throw it, and then if you hit it, you got to eat it.
That's disturbing.
we were weird.
That's disturbing.
We were weird people.
Oh, that's disturbing. I have no answer for that. I have no answer for that one.
My thing was, hey, I already have cerebral palsy. What's the weeding off the
wall?
Well,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could eat Play-Doh at that point, which, by the way, it doesn't taste bad. I did it as a kid.
Flavored Play-Doh is dangerous.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like, why isn't it even flavored? You're begging people to eat this.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of a wrong thing to do, but I'm just saying it's not the worst thing in the world.
I think every kid probably ate Play-Doh at one
time
in life because they're begging kids to eat them because they come out in those little trays that are like, build the restaurant.
No, yeah.
So you're making Play-Doh that looks like a hamburger.
Yeah, there you go.
You're begging kids to eat it.
There you go. Now,
better be non-toxic.
We go way, 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 way back. The Fisher Price
Easy Bake Oven.
Well, no. The ones that we call them the people, the little round characters that would be in the Fisher Price toys, the A-frame, the airport, McDonald's restaurant. We would call them the people.
Right.
My sister had everything that you could imagine from Fisher Price. The A-frame. She had the airport. Well, McDonald's one was one of my favorites. That was pretty cool. Kind of a shadow of a foretaste of. You're probably not supposed to eat this 7 days a week, man. Okay, I did growing up. But
do you have any toys?
Not growing up, but
do you have any toys that you wish people would have told you as a kid not to play with? Because now you look at them now and you look at online and how much they're worth, and you go, "Holy crap!
Yeah.
If I didn't play with this, it would have been."
Stretch Armstrong.
I have an original Megatron from.
There you go.
And it transformed into a gun.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did in the old cartoon.
Absolutely.
It's worth so much money, but mine is like scuffed up and played with forever, and it's like if I would have not played with this.
Well,
I have a lot of original Transformers that are played with that I can't sell.
The old Tyco Racer. Ones, the old school ones where you use the
gun trigger.
Yeah, the gun trigger thing. Those were worth a fortune.
Right.
The old track. HO train track and the trains. Depending on how old those things are, they're worth a pretty nice coin. My brother used to have a really old train set. I don't know what the hell he did with it.
Those Lionel trains.
Oh, he had Lionel, he had HO, he had the whole. Right. He had a really impressive set. And you get older, you throw stuff kind of like baseball cards. Now, the only thing is, I kept mine.
I have a couple of tubs of baseball, football
cards. I have close to 50,000 baseball cards.
You got to get in contact with Coach Brazil. He's the guru of getting those off.
And I have late 70s, early 80s out the wazoo, which they're not worth anything because everyone and their brother had early 80s Topps cards and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But late 70s, I think about 5 or 6 cards from a complete 78 set.
I have 2 that will never go into the tub because I know they're going to be something. But I have the Brett Favre rookie.
Oh, it's already worth something.
I know. And I have King Griffey rookie card.
Oh, there you go.
So
that's not bad. Not bad.
Everything else is just in a tub somewhere.
Yeah. I have an unopened box, and it's so old. It's so long ago. I don't remember if it's NFL or Major League Baseball. But in my parents' attic, which would be in the garage upstairs in the attic, it's either Major League Baseball or the National Football League 1989 unopened case of Topps cards. And I'm not sure which sport it was, but somewhere up there is a completely unopened case, which back then, what was it, 24 packs or 36 packs, one or the other, of either baseball cards or football cards from the 1989 Major League Baseball or NFL season. I'm not sure which one, but it's a completely unopened case somewhere back there. The other thing that I had, which not many people would think about this, and I don't know what it would be worth, but you know how in Cooperstown, when people are inducted into the Hall of Fame, they normally have postcards where you know those postcards where you go into Florida and you or some attraction and you have this beautiful picture, and then on the back it's enough where you can write a little note and send it to someone. Well, they have postcards of all the Hall of Famers. When I was broadcasting in Abilene in '99, and I'm not sure who went into the Hall of Fame, but it was someone from Texas. It might have been Nolan Ryan that went into the Hall of Fame. One of our loyal season ticket holders for the Prairie Dogs, Abilene Prairie Dogs back in the day, went to Cooperstown and bought my play-by-play partner and I a complete set from the first year of Cooperstown when it opened, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, all the way to 1999. I have every Hall of Famer from beginning to the end of the 20th century. So for me to update it, I'd have to go into Cooperstown and purchase every postcard from 2000 through 2019, since they didn't have a Hall of Fame thing this year. I don't know how much it's worth, but I got it, and they're in mint condition because I've never opened it. It's pretty freaking amazing.
It's probably worth a lot.
Who knows? But I got it.
I
also have, and it's just 1995 with the Indians winning not winning, but going to the World Series. You know how they were on Wheaties box?
Yeah.
I have an unopened box, not an unopened, and a box that was never put together. It was flat.
Oh, okay.
Never put together. Cleveland Indians, 1995, American League champion, on a Wheaties box that was never put together. It was completely flat. Really cool. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of that, but
gotta eat your Wheaties.
Well, the Cleveland surely didn't in the '95 World Series, don't you know?
Don't you know?
We'll take
Don't you know?
Don't you know? We'll take a final break, and be back to wrap up running points and
live from Minnesota,
and lead you to the Power Hour, with DJ and the Voilas. That'll be DJ and the Hosers will be joining you at the top of the hour, Back in a bit. Stick around.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
All right, that'll do it for a Monday edition of Running Point. Before we get out of here, Anthony, you got the schedule for tonight.
Tonight on the network, we open the night with swimming, and we've loved our swimming coverage this year. We've gotten a lot of great reviews after it. So Canfield, South Range, Columbiana, Springfield, and Salem will all be swimming at 5 o'clock on the network. Then at 6 o'clock, you have Latonia at Heartland Christian. And then rounding out the last 3 games, you got Jackson Milton United. That'll be a senior night for the Eagles, so we'll have that one, and we'll go on a little bit early to make sure senior night gets covered. Cardinal Mooney goes to Austintown Fitch. Those two teams are playing each other again, even though they just played. So round 2. And then last
sequel.
but not least, West Branch at Boardman. So
there you go. All right, that'll do it for Running Point. Tune in tomorrow, noon to 3, Running Point on ysnlive.com, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Power Hour is coming up next.